All right. Hey, man, we're chilling, just tripping. What's up? All right. Here we are, Monday, the 26th of November. Welcome to another episode of Let There Be Talk. And there will be some talking. How are you guys? Feeling good out here on the East Coast? Waiting for it to rain? I'm staying in this place, and it has like an air conditioner that hangs halfway outside. And when it rains, I know right away because I can hear it just start hitting the aluminum shell on the air conditioner. And it reminds me of back when I used to work construction. I lived in this condominium. People call them condos. They don't use the full name, condominium. I lived in this condominium that had a aluminum carport, and when it would rain, it would hit that carport, and I would be laying in bed at like 6:30 in the morning, and I would hear shh, and I would be like, oh yeah, no fucking work today, and just close my eyes. I wouldn't even look outside. It was just hypnotic. It was the sound. I should sell that sound on those sleep machines. You know how they got like tropical rainforest, ocean, wind or whatever. Mine would just be aluminum carport, white trash sleep machine. Anyway, I got that here where I'm staying in New York. And when it rains in New York, it does not mess around. Like Saturday night, it was just pouring. I was going back and forth from the Comedy Cellar to the Village Underground, which is just right around the corner. And you bounce back and forth, club to club, set to set. And I didn't have an umbrella. I was like, no umbrella. It's just storming. So some good sleeping may happen later this afternoon again after I post this podcast and get a couple things done. It's supposed to pour rain. Nothing yet though. Great guest today. Brings me way back to my Bay Area days. I love having a guest on that I grew up with because it just fires up memories. I was talking to my boy Steve, the door guy at the Cellar last night, and he's like, dude, you gotta start writing down these memoirs. And he's right, because like when I talk to people, memories come and go, so I want to start writing them down. Put together an audio book. I don't think anybody reads. It's all about the audio book these days. There's like 9 readers. Nobody reads. You know what I mean? Nobody reads. You notice that? Like I tweeted a couple days ago, I'm on stage at 10 p.m. Some guy tweeted right back, what time? Oh, it makes me crazy. It makes me crazy. Hey, what band is this? It's right in the description. Hey, when are you going to be here? It's right in the description. Anyway, so yeah, jot down some memories in my memoir. Guest today, one of the greatest guitar players to play in thrash, speed metal, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. When I was growing up, it was called thrash metal, as the great Paul Bailoff would say. What was it? Oh, I think he said, death metal is all that you need. But thrash metal, whatever you want to call it, this man is the scorcher of the fretboard, Mr. Alex Skolnick. Or as he said he was described in the band as the Skull Crusher. Alex Skolnick from Testament and many other great projects. This guest came together so organically, and how I wish every guest would come together. You know, I just get a DM straight from Alex. Hey, long time no see. I'm in New York. Let's get together and have lunch. I had no idea that Alex Skolnick lived in New York since the 90s. And I was thrilled, man. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy. Whenever I see somebody from the old days, it's just going to be on. So I had him come over to podcast, and right when he walked in the door, I didn't even let him talk to me. I just handed him the mic and said, sit down, and let's let the memories flow. Great episode. He talks all kinds of great stories that I never knew. Like, he auditioned for Ozzy and played in Ozzy for a week, which is an incredible story. Wait till you hear that. He also auditioned for the Spin Doctors. The Spin Doctors. Can you imagine? Alex Skolnick and the Spin Doctors. I love it. Somebody make an animated video of that. That would be great. I'm here to audition for the Spin Doctors. Just got Alex Skolnick with the long hair, and he's got the gray patch. He's wearing leather. And then there's the singer guy with the white dreads, which are not cool in this PC era. White dreads, you better not do it. Anyway, MTV, you better pull that video off before I boycott you for the white dread video. Anyway, that'd be funny. He just shows up. I'm crazy today, but man, it just sounds funny. Of course, Alex Skolnick, what I love about him was I felt like we have this thing in common. He didn't want to be boxed in. He loved playing metal, but he also loved all kinds of music, just like this show. So he went off and dove deep into the jazz rabbit hole, and we hear all about that. He's got a brand new record out called Conundrum, which is fantastic. Check that out. And also, he is currently, again, of course, in Testament, out there destroying, melting faces. They were just out on that Slayer farewell tour. They'll be playing in LA next month. God, I wish I could see that. Great episode. And of course, Chuck, Billy, and I go way back also. And Chuck was on the show. And Gene Hoglan. So I've got 3 of the Testament members here. Maybe Eric will be next. Great guest. You're going to love it. Hey, you shopping for stuff for Christmas? I've got the perfect gift for you. You're not going to get any better than this. How about an electric toothbrush? A Quip toothbrush. I love mine. No bulky chargers. The charge lasts for 3 months. You get brand new toothbrush heads delivered to you for only $5. I'm telling you, get Quip.com/Delray. That's GETQUIP.com/Delray right now and get your first refill pack for free with a Quip electric toothbrush. Don't sleep on this offer. Get Quip.com/Delray. GETQUIP.com/Delray. DELRAY. Incredible gift for the holidays. It's something you use twice a day, every day. What better gift than that? It's not just going to go in the closet like, thanks for the tie, buddy. I love this tie. Oprah's O-List. It's on Oprah's O-List. She looks for the best items. This is an amazing electric toothbrush. Sensitive sonic vibrations, gentle enough on your sensitive gum, built-in timer with guiding pulses to remind you when to switch sides. You know, you're all sleepy in the morning, just staying on the front teeth, just brushing the vampire fangs and forgetting about the back dirty molars. You need to roll it around. Roll it around. Quip is the gift that keeps refreshing. Yeah, you got a partner who's got bad breath all the time. Give him one of these. Get your breath together, partner. Accepted by the American Dental Association. Get Quip.com. GETQUIP.com/Delray. Quip looks like a big ticket tech gift, but it's not. Starting at just $25. That's your first refill pack for free if you use the Delraiser code getquip.com/Delray. Do it, man. Don't sleep on this great, great gift. Let's see. Before I get into Alex, upcoming shows, Vegas Comedy Cellar at the Rio Hotel, December 24th through the 31st. So Christmas Eve through New Year's Eve. Houston, coming out there with Joey Diaz, January 10, 11, 12 at the Improv. Better get tickets for that ASAP. Comedy Castle in April. I'm headlining in Detroit at the Comedy Castle. Don't forget about the new Grateful Dean shirt, available now for pre-order only. DeanDelray.com for all info on the Grateful Dean shirts. They're fantastic. My favorite design. Check it out on my Twitter and Instagram. And don't forget, all bonus episodes of Let There Be Talk are available on patreon.com/Delray. Be a Patreoner. Help this podcast out. I love all you guys. Let's get into it. Here he is, Mr. Alex Skolnick. Yeah, what a great guest today. Just walked into the place here. Alex Skolnick, how the hell are you?
Dean, it's been a long time.
Man, it's
good to see you.
If somebody said to me 30 years ago that you and I would be in New York just shooting the shit, I'd be like, nah, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
It really is, right? It's like...
So we haven't caught up. Yeah, I just walked in the door.
Yeah.
We barely said hello.
Yeah.
Just like straight to the mic.
Well, I don't want to miss
Which is good. Yeah.
I don't want to miss any of the organic shit.
That's the best way, man. Nobody does that.
You walked in and I was playing your record, and we'll get into that in a bit here, but it's how long? I think I've known you probably about 30 years.
I think so.
I'm 52. You're 50.
50 as of recent. Joined the club.
Yeah.
About a month ago.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
When was the first time that you played with Testament? Because that's, of course, it was Legacy back then, but
right.
That's when I, of course, know who you are from the Omni and the whole San Francisco Bay Area scene.
Yeah.
And I became friends, really close friends with Chuck. And, of course, Louie, who lived up the street from me for years. Which was
totally forgot about that.
But
it's crazy.
How long ago was that?
We're talking like late 80s.
Late 80s.
Yeah, so I joined the band around 85 when I was in 11th grade.
11th grade.
And, yeah, I was always the kid of the band, so they were in their early 20s. And after finishing high school in 86, all my friends were either going off to college or working, and we had a record deal. And we did the first Testament record in early 1987, and then hit the road with a band called Anthrax.
Oh,
and that was my life for the next several years.
That's got to be kind of a wild thing, like we were all in high school.
Yep.
When that shit was booming, Metallica, all that stuff. And I barely remember school, but I remember being at the Stone every night and all that like it was yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, that was just a thing, going to local shows. And the band, Metallica wasn't like they are now. Yeah, they weren't like peers of Springsteen and Madonna.
Stadium rockers.
Yeah, they're really one of the only ones left.
Yeah.
There's really not that many hard rock stadium acts.
There isn't.
And at the time, I think they were still playing clubs. I remember seeing them at the Keystone Berkeley. But they did have the record out, first one, Kill 'Em All, and there was just always something about it. You just knew this band's going somewhere.
Yeah, well, they were like, I always say that they kind of felt so worldly. Like they would go on these tours and then come back and hang at the Stone or Ruthie's Inn or whatever. And when I was that age, I thought they were way older than me. And then
Right.
as you get older, you go like, oh, we were about the same age. They were just,
not that much older.
yeah, they had just seen shit.
Yeah, they were always in Europe, and they were the festivals. I don't know if European metal festivals were a new thing back then. I mean, now they're everywhere. Every country seems to have a festival. Sweden Rock, Hellfest in France. But back then, it was kind of a new thing. You know, there was one called Castle Donington in the UK. That was the original download.
The best.
And they were always on those shows. Yeah. And that was kind of their thing. And you could see them getting much bigger over in the States. And you always got a sense, okay, if they ever sort of broke in the U.S., it would be really interesting. And at the time, they refused to do videos. They, they really did
radio song.
No radio songs, no hits.
Yeah.
Hetfield's vocal style was wasn't very melodic at that time.
Nope.
Listen to that first record. It doesn't sound like the guy who's saying Nothing Else Matters. You know?
Yeah.
It was very different. And, but still, as soon as they did that, as soon as they let down their guard, did a video, got a little more melodic. That was it.
Yeah. Now, you're 2 years younger than me, so we're in the Bay Area at the same time. And before you joined Testament, are you at the time a fan of speed metal and thrash metal? Were you going out to that, or what were you listening to? Of course, we're all listening to the same stuff like Maiden and Scorpions and Judas Priest and all that. But what were you rocking?
Well, I was a guitar guy, right? So my thing was the first Van Halen record.
Oh yeah,
Van Halen, obviously. Pre David Lee Roth, like all that stuff.
You mean pre Sammy Hagar?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, pre.
I was like, wait a minute.
Pre Sammy Hagar. The original Van Halen, and anybody those who was influenced by that. So like Randy Rhoads sort of was the next guy to come along that really did his own thing. So those early Ozzy records with Randy Rhoads. Dio with Vivian Campbell.
Oh, did you go to the concert barn, Antioch Concert Barn, to see him?
No, that was
I went to that
before my time. But my first unchaperoned concert, where I went with some buddies, was Dio at the Cow Palace.
Oh yeah,
and it was awesome. So I was really coming from that place, more sort of melodic hard rock guitar, and I liked the heavy stuff. I like the speed. I would go to speed metal concerts. I saw the first Slayer concert
at the Stone.
It was
Ruthie's.
I think it was at the Keystone Berkeley.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Opening for Law's Rocket.
Yeah, yeah.
And they, I dug the music, but I always thought, as a player, I relate more to like the power metal stuff and. But I kept thinking, it'd be really fun to be in one of these thrash bands and maybe try to bring some of that sort of Van Halen, Randy Rhoads style into that, because it was always more about the riffs with the speed metal.
Right. That's exactly what it definitely was. That was what was the next phase, I guess, because if you look at all these bands we're talking about, especially Priest with like the Sinner and all that stuff, KK and that kind of soloing. Love Drive era with Shanker and all that. It was definitely some incredible. And then Eddie and Randy and thrash was definitely about riffs and not so much of the playing. Right. As far as there was great players, but it wasn't like, whoa, there was no, like Yngwie was kind of the guy that bridged him.
Yeah, and there was the blueprint for melodic players at that time was you join a hair metal band.
Yeah,
because the bands, the hair metal bands, most of them were from L.A. Interestingly, and there was some great guitar playing going on.
Oh, there was.
Right, you had Warren DeMartini and Rat. You had George Lynch and Dokken, and I just I didn't want to wear that stuff. I didn't want to wear scarves and Aquanet.
Yeah.
So it just it made more sense to just give it a shot and try doing this more fast, aggressive music with the melodic guitar playing. And a couple years later, my friend Marty Friedman joined Megadeth.
Oh yeah,
and we were like the melodic guys in that scene.
Yeah,
but we were like the only ones. Now it's pretty much accepted. I mean, now you have melodic guitar and some of the heaviest bands, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, Cacophony.
But at the time, it was
Cacophony was like, all that Shrapnel Varney stuff was really like was where the guitar players went. But they never got the big record deals, until Marty escaped and got into Megadeth, that other people were like, oh, wow, man, this is I mean, people still to this day are like, when's Marty going to be back in Megadeth?
I know.
That's the impact.
I know. But, he's doing just fine.
Yep.
Megadeth's doing just fine.
Yep.
It all worked out. And, before Jason Becker was sidelined with his condition, he was in the David Lee Roth band. And he's still making music. I mean, that's an incredible story.
That's an incredible documentary.
Yeah, totally. Everybody has to see that. If you've ever complained about anything in your life, you see what this guy has gone through. Jason Becker, who has MS, but not MS.
What does he have?
Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, Lou Gehrig. Yeah. And him and his father created kind of a way to communicate with eyes and stuff.
Yes.
And he plays that way.
Yeah, and the documentary is, it's just incredible. And, those guys, they were sort of, the big names off of the Shrapnel scene. The thing about a lot of the Shrapnel music, it was definitely geared towards guitar players.
Yeah.
And I think...
It wasn't songwriting.
Yeah. Even though I'm sure there might have been some good ideas on there, it was just all about screaming guitar. The whole record. And I think early on, I've always wanted to play for more people than just guitar players. Yeah. And I feel the same way today. I gave a guitar clinic just the other day at a store in Canada called Steve's. Oh, I'm wearing their shirt.
Oh yeah.
And I said that to the audience. I'd like to think that somebody could walk in here who's not a guitar player, or one of you, could have a spouse or a significant other that you dragged along, and they can enjoy what I'm playing as well. Yeah. So I've always I want to not just do music for guitar players, even though I'm a guitar player, and I certainly do my share of shredding, I guess you could say.
At what point when you're playing, early on as a kid, do you realize, holy shit, I'm really good? Could you just like play the Eddie stuff right away, like just listening to it, Eddie Van Halen?
No, it's an interesting story. The first guy in my neighborhood that I heard who could play that stuff was a guy named Danny Gill. I don't know if you remember that name, but he was in a bunch of local bands, and he was kind of the guy to watch out for. And I studied with him for about a year or so, and it was a big help just watching somebody do that.
Yeah, because there's no YouTube. And Eddie wasn't releasing those guitar player. Remember those ones? They were done by other people, and it'd be like, I think it was called Hot Licks.
Hot Licks.
Remember those? Hot Licks. And it'd just be a dude, and there'd be a camera on his hand. He'd go, here's what Eddie's doing. And he would show you like slow motion, the finger tapping.
Yeah, they didn't always get it right.
Nope.
It never really sounded like
no.
But I eventually moved on to my to his teacher. So the guy I was studying with,
Joe Satriani.
I kept hearing about the guy he had studied with, and he was like this mysterious guy named Joe that came from New York, and it was very serious. And people told me not to study with him because he'll make you practice more than you've ever practiced. And it sounded like boot camp for guitar.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, that actually sounds great. That sounds exactly what I need."
And Kirk Hammett was going there.
Yeah, he it's amazing, like the people who dropped in. At times, Kirk, the guitarist for Primus.
Oh yeah, Larry.
Who was in a band called Possessed at the time. And if you look at like any pop group that came out of the Bay Area in the 90s, Counting Crows, Third Eye Blind,
Oh, yeah.
Smash Mouth, like
Yeah.
all those guys
They were
at some
with him?
time
Like
studied
Dan
with Joe.
Vickery and those kind of dudes? From
Yeah,
the Counting Crows?
I don't know
Yeah.
all their names.
But they were there, yeah.
That was a different scene. But yeah, I know like each of those bands had somebody who maybe they weren't like long-term
Right.
students, but at least they'd popped in and taken some lessons. I was there. I was for 2 years. studying
2
with
years.
them.
And
Yeah.
what would you go, once a week?
I would go once a week. Yeah.
How much was it? You remember?
Oh, it was a bargain, like by today's standards.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think might have been around like $20-something.
Yeah, an hour.
But we're talking decades ago. so-
Absolutely, absolutely. And what, because I took lessons from different people over a period of time. What was it, once you get in there, was it pretty intense? Like he's like, hey, I'm Joe, sit down. And then did you have to learn to read music? Did you, how did it go?
No, it wasn't reading. It was there was a lot of music theory. He talked about a lot of things that I had to admit were over my head.
Yeah.
And a lot of what he taught me really helped later. I just at that age, I think I was 14 when I took my first lesson. I just wasn't ready for it. I did have some friends that could pick up on that stuff really quick, but yeah, I mean, he really helped with my playing and just focusing on the basics. I was trying to play like Yngwie and Eddie, and I really needed to work more on bending a note, which is like singing in a way.
Yeah, bending a note in tune.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff.
Yeah, knowing what note you're going to, just having how to organize the music, having patterns to fall back on, but that you build off of, and it just really helped lay a sort of a path forward is what he did.
What guitar were you playing back then?
Oh gosh, I was playing this custom guitar that's on the first Testament album. It's a white star body.
Whoa.
And I had
Like a Charvel kind of copy?
exactly. It was like a Charvel copy, and my previous teacher, Danny Gill, had gotten a guitar from the same luthier.
Who was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember the guy's name.
Just somebody in the Bay Area, though, huh? Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't. I'm trying.
Single
I'm blanking.
pickup, that kind of thing. Floyd Rose tremolo.
No, Floyd Rose,
one knob.
tremolo. Classic 80s guitar.
Yeah.
And another friend of mine who was also studying with the same guy before Joe. We both got our guitars from the same luthier, and they weren't the greatest guitars, but they looked cool at the time.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. There's nothing cooler than a star guitar. Which, by the way, Wayne Charvel just lost everything.
I know. I heard that story.
What
That's
a drag, man! And the fire up there at Paradise.
But actually, I'm remembering now. I also had a Les Paul.
Oh wow!
That was my first real guitar. Was a Les Paul Standard, which I always regretted selling. But I have a story around that, which is
what is
kind of interesting. I sold that. I think I was in the 9th grade, and the guy who bought it sort of reached out years later, and I mentioned if there was any chance I could buy the thing back, and he was going through a rough period. I think he'd lost his job and gotten divorced, and he's like. I forget what exactly happened.
Just life.
Basically, all I have left is my dog and that guitar. But if you really want it, I'm sure we can work. In fact, keep the guitar.
Wow. Yeah.
As much as it meant to me at one time.
Yeah.
And I'm just kicking myself. We all have that guitar that we were kind of kicking ourselves for letting go. No, this guy should have it.
Did you ever get into the vintage world? Were you like a vintage guitar guy, like any like old V's and stuff like that?
It was funny. The V, I just never got the V.
Right.
You know what I mean? like I have friends that really like it. Some players that I grew up listening to, like Michael Schenker, for example.
Yeah.
Big V guys. I don't know. It just never really did anything for me. I don't like sitting a guitar that you can't sit with.
Yeah.
or you can, but it's really uncomfortable.
It's the weirdest ever. You're
It's
just
just a
sitting.
weird
I always
thing.
love that rubber strip they put underneath it. Like that's supposed to like sit on your thigh, you know, like hold it in place. That is the ridiculous. That's the cool thing of a V. Like what the fuck is that? And the ridiculousness of it, you know?
Yeah, completely. But yeah, there's some other vintage guitars I got into. After the whole the first wave of Testament, right? It lasted from 87 to 92. So I think I left in the early 90s, and at that point I'd had an endorsement with Ibanez guitars, so I was playing these colorful and the cool guitars, these Ibanez
Like
guitars.
Paul Gilbert stuff and Steve Vai kind of
Well,
thing.
I mean, and even Satriani,
Yep.
everybody was playing Ibanez. I felt like at that age, I was still really young. You know, I was like barely drinking age. I'd already had a few years on tour, and I just that was when I felt like I needed to find myself outside of the bubble of being in the band and being in that kind of metal. I started playing with different types of musicians. I kind of rediscovered the Les Paul. I got myself a reissue 1960 Gold Top.
Oh, great guitar.
Great guitar. And I've used that on a bunch of records. I still have it.
What year was it around? Like 90s?
Yeah, this was like mid 90s.
Right.
Probably 94, I think.
You just picked it up at like a Guitar Center or something? Like I got to get a different flavor?
No, I'd actually passed through Rochester, New York. There's a great store there. It's still there, called Rochester House of Guitars.
Oh, I know it.
You know it? Yeah.
Yep.
They let me do a trade. And I had acquired one of these Steve Vai guitars, these wild.
Oh yeah, with
guitars
the flowers on it.
with the handle.
Oh
it was white.
Gem 2 or whatever.
Yeah, the Universe. I think.
Oh yeah,
with 7 strings.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, what the hell do I do with this? I mean, I never picked it up, and I just thought, you know what, I need to exchange this for a guitar that I will play, and So I got that guitar.
Traded just straight across.
I think maybe like a couple $100 or something.
Awesome.
It's a historic edition. It's a really
The historic's the best. Yeah.
Top-notch guitar. And at that time too, this is Gibson pre-bankruptcy.
Oh yeah. 90s when they're really starting to get it going again. They got Tom Murphy coming in.
Right.
They're making these Murphy Pauls. They're really going to town on them. They go back to the cloth wiring, the bumblebee caps. These great humbuckers.
The quality was amazing.
Nitrocellulose tops.
Yeah. There was no issues like you have today, and so that I got that guitar, and then I started. I'd had the jazz bug for a while, and I'd been going to hear a lot of jazz guitar players. I'd taken a few lessons. It was kind of a hobby though. It was really like this side thing, and then I made a deal with myself. I allowed myself to get a real jazz guitar on the condition that that I had to get my jazz playing to a professional level. Otherwise, the guitar would go back.
Wow. Wow.
So the guitar I got was an L5.
Oh, yeah.
From 1976, blonde. Just like my favorite jazz guitar player, Wes Montgomery, that he played on the cover of a record that he made in Berkeley, which is where I'm from. So it felt very, and it was actually owned by a well-known jazz player in the Bay Area named Calvin Keys, and it had found its way to Blue Note Music, which was this guitar
Great store.
Do you remember that place?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was my deal. So I got that, and I still have that. It's a great guitar. And I have a couple other vintage ones as well. I can't really justify a guitar that costs like the same as a down payment on a house.
Right.
But occasionally I'll I'll find one that's kind of reasonable, and I'll get it. So you were asking about the discovering jazz, and it happened in a strange way, because I think for many players, they early on they know I'm going to be a jazz player, I'm going to be this kind of player, and I always liked many types of guitar playing, and I discovered a lot of jazz rock players, right? So Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and they had these connections to jazz musicians, like the guys on their records. John McLaughlin, all his musicians were these incredible players, and he had been in Miles Davis's band. Al Di Meola, he had this amazing duet with Chick Corea, and then I found out, he came from Chick Corea's Return to Forever. That was kind of how he got more well known.
Yeah.
So it was really like just this Pandora's box, just like through those players. But I think so. I'd already been paying attention, but then what really did it for me was I saw a Miles Davis concert on television.
Oh man, what era?
And this was the Electric Band,
of course.
So I didn't even realize this was jazz, because there was like screaming guitar,
like that kind of Fillmore era, right?
It was after that. It was like mid to late '80s. There are a few records that sort of capture that period, but there's one called Live Around the World, which is a live record, which is amazing. And I don't exactly know who was in the band at that time, but the guitar players that he played with during that period were John Scofield, Mike Stern, Robin Ford, all these amazing players. Yeah. So it just that was really it, and I started checking out that music and the Electric Miles stuff, and then I couldn't figure out what these guys were doing. And at that point, I was able to play. I was able to figure out, these Van Halen licks I'd never been able to learn before. All this, really fast, complicated stuff.
So it was all coming full circle.
Yeah, but suddenly, I could not figure out any of this stuff. I could figure out Gary Moore, Yngwie.
Yeah.
I could not figure out what the hell. Like Mike Stern was like, what is that?
Because it was in a different, different style of pentatonic is what a lot of those guys are playing in, was it different scales, different, what was it?
In some cases, yeah. I mean, it became a quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to be able to grasp this stuff. And I studied with some jazz teachers in the Bay Area, and they were telling me that, in order to do this, you have to study traditional jazz. You have to sort of learn jazz standards. All these guys, they could play in a small jazz combo with a piano player, or it was all built on a jazz foundation, and then I started learning traditional jazz out of necessity. But then I found I really liked it.
Yeah. It's got to be equivalent of if a kid likes rock and he just tries to jump in and learn Yngwie without knowing the whole roots of blues into rock and all that, right?
Well, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I've occasionally met players that were trying to do that stuff, and they still didn't know anything about how to play like a classic rock lick, it play Eric Clapton stuff, Jeff Beck. They could not grasp that, and you have to have a foundation. So it is very similar to that. And a short time later, this was around 1988. We were doing the second Testament record, and I was on break. I think they were doing vocals, and I was just watching TV, and that came on. A year later, we did the record at Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, and they had a lot of jazz albums they were remastering. So I overheard all this great music being remastered. Like one of them was an album by John Coltrane, live at Birdland.
Wow.
And I walked by, and I remember being knocked out. Like it was the most amazing thing I'd ever heard. It was this a cappella solo by John Coltrane, and I asked somebody working at the studio, like, "Who is that? Who's in there?"
Yeah.
They were laughing, and they was like, well, he's not with us anymore. But
we're
that's
just
John
remastering,
Coltrane. Yeah. But it really sounded like they had it cranked, and they just had it dialed in, and it sounded like somebody recording right there and then. It was really spooky, and it turns out that Fantasy also had a record label.
Yeah.
And they had bought all these defunct jazz labels like Impulse, who had originally.
That's a great move.
Yeah, they had originally, and at that time, those albums hadn't been released on CD yet. It's kind of nuts. So, as a client of the studio, they were so cool. They hooked me up with that album and like all the albums I want. I ended up with dozens of records, probably over 100 records, like a huge crate.
Wow!
Of instantly, I had this great jazz collection. And that was all
like,
within the same time period.
Just kind of CDRs or something. They would just burned them for you, or like, here you go.
No, they
or the reissues when they came out.
Everything that had come out.
Oh, I gotcha.
And then I was able to sort of order in advance the stuff that they were still working on.
At the time, was Chuck and the guys looking at you like, oh, you're losing interest in the thrash metal? Were they worried, or were they happy because you were bringing some kind of different flavor to the band?
Oh, at that time, I think I got some weird looks.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was an odd thing. Like, nobody did that. But I just, I could, it just felt natural. And I hadn't been knocked out by a piece of music since at that level, since the first time I heard Eruption by Eddie Van Halen. When I heard John Coltrane on I Want to Talk About You from Live at Birdland, that was the first piece of music that hit me on that level. And I couldn't ignore it. It actually kept me interested in music. And it did affect my playing, and I think it enabled me to bring new ideas to the group. But yeah, eventually I did have to step aside and really explore that further.
That had to be kind of weird because you'd been with Chuck and the guys that whole time, and it was kind of your first thing. And, here you're in a band with a record deal and everything, and you decide to step out of it. Was it kind of like a relief to them, you think, of not firing you, or it was just kind of mutual thing, like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point, this is a few years later. This is probably, maybe 3 or 4 years later. It was imploding.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, I gotcha. Because it had its first run.
Yes, it was the classic, behind the music story.
Yeah.
That happens to every band, and I think that would have happened no matter what. If it wasn't for, my jazz and improvisational side, I would have joined some other metal band. Who knows? But whatever it was, I actually think that might have made it easier. It wasn't like, guys, I'm going to go join our competition, or I'm going to go join this. Yeah, it wasn't that at all. It was like, I'm going to play, some different music. I did my first non-metal tour, which was with my friend Stu Ham, who's a
amazing
bass genius,
amazing bass player.
Who we reconnected a few years ago. We're still playing. We're playing in L.A. in a couple months. And
that guy's a god.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had toured with him, and suddenly I'm with these amazing musicians, and it just I realized whatever I end up doing, and I didn't want to never do metal again, and I kind of had a feeling I would find my way back to it somehow, but I did. I just felt like there's so much more. and I need to explore, not be limited to that. But as soon as I left, just to get into the gossip side of it, Louis pulled me aside, and he looked like the most visibly shaken. Like everybody else, it was very tense for a while, and then everybody.
You mean when you went to tell him?
Yes, and then
how did you tell him? You just go to the studio one day? We
were actually on tour.
Oh wow!
And it was pretty harsh. I talk about it. I wrote an unabridged memoir. I go into every detail about it. But we were on tour. We were we met. It was on a day off. It was in a hotel room. I remember it was raining.
all the darkness.
It every time I thought back about it, it reminded me of like the beginning of the beginning of the Black Sabbath record,
the bell, the church bell.
Yeah, so it was like this reckoning.
You're walking down the hallway. Yeah. I'm going to tell him.
Yeah.
It was like a funeral.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of entering heavy metal for the first time, like I'm leaving.
Exiting. Yeah.
But eventually they processed it. The one guy that seemed to be having the hardest time with it was Louis, and then he ended up leaving like weeks after I did, and he later told me that he was so upset because he knew the second I got out, he had to get out too.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing for Louis because he kind of meets a woman, right, or wherever he meets her, and they have a furniture store or something.
Yeah, it was a someone from a record label.
Oh wow!
Someone from Atlantic Records.
And then they start doing like antique furniture.
Yeah, well, he always had a lot of talent for that. So
turning stuff, buying and turning.
Always. Even while we were in the band. I mean, before eBay, he was like the original guy. When it was classified ads.
That's what I was doing, and we would always relate. Like I was hustling, kind of Fender Blackface amps and anything I could find back then. And when you're on tour and you're kind of bored, you just hit the streets and you're at a pawn shop or a Goodwill or anything. And you're like, whoa, look at this. And he was kind of doing the same thing, but he was making some big money.
Right, he was doing it with cars.
Yeah, cars. Right? We were both doing cars.
Remember Auto Trader? I don't know if that's still around, but he would buy a car, fix it up. Make a great profit. He was like a car flipper.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing, and and we were neighbors, so it was just hilarious.
So funny. Well, he had he agreed. By the time I had left, there were a lot of musical tensions and personal tensions. I'm also kind of introverted, so I was just never into like all the crazy partying and friends every night, fill the bus with hangers on, and
what would you do? Just hit the back lounge?
I would just I still do, but the guys now are they mellow it out a lot.
Yeah, totally.
They got it. You were kind of onto something. Yeah,
some sleep was needed. Yeah, I don't think anybody slept in the Bay Area from like 83 to 90. There's just meth going around and booze and partying. And it was wild that we all kind of made it out of that, you know?
It's true. And it was normal, right? It was
totally normal.
Everybody was doing it. So you felt weird if you didn't do it. I luckily never got into the meth thing.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how prevalent that was though back then?
Oh man,
and meth wasn't like looked at as like now. It was just kind of something you did to keep partying and playing music.
Oh yeah. It was fun.
Yeah,
but it didn't look fun, and you could see like people that were into it a little too much. What was happening to them, and they were just decaying.
Yeah,
literally, and there was just too much of that going on. Luckily, nobody was a junkie.
Yeah, no needles.
That just never came. That was just never a part of our scene. But still, just the constant, just partying nonstop and just, I got to, after a couple years, I was at the point I realized, okay, party when there's a reason to party.
Yeah.
Like the tour's over, or you've just finished a record, or whatever. Have some celebration. But if you're just doing it all the time for no reason, except just to get fucked up, then it doesn't do you any good, and it defeats the whole thing you're trying to achieve, which is to do something meaningful with music.
And the high is as cliche is the music and playing live. As you later on get older in life, I realize, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Early years, you're just numbing out what you could have been feeling.
Yeah. I'm wondering with comedy, is it like that? Is it the same feeling?
Well, I think in comedy in the '80s, everybody was doing blow, just like the bands, and drinking, and when you're working every night. Even if you just have a couple drinks a night, but it's 7 days a week, now you've had, 40, 50 drinks and some bumps of Coke or whatever, and then years go by and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But now it's all biz now.
Yeah, it kind of has to be.
Yeah.
It's exponential. That's the thing, right? Because you don't think about it. It's just one night. You're going to get a little reckless. But then, you add it up over. You look at that over time, and how much time you spend in the club, whether it's a music club or a comedy club, and whatever you're putting into your system. It really adds up.
Especially when you get into your 50s, you're like, well, I kind of want to live now, Right. And touring is so grueling. Airports, buses, minimal sleep, long days. You just. Anything you can do to stay healthy.
Yeah, I found a long time ago that first of all, I could never keep up with anybody, so I was always teased, for being a lightweight. But I would like to have a few drinks, of something quality, like a really good glass of scotch or a high quality wine. But I knew people who just had to have a drink, like no matter what, and that was never me. And years later, I'm still the same way. Like I still enjoy a glass of wine, but if it's not a good quality wine, I'm not going to drink it because I never did it to get messed up.
Yeah, it's all about like luxuries of life, like enjoying something high quality.
Yes,
it's like a high quality guitar. You put it on, you go, "Wow, this is a piece of art." Good wine, an amazing meal.
Yeah, and I think as you get older, you appreciate that. If you can realize that when you're younger, that's great. But many of us it takes time to get to that point.
Early on, once Testament starts getting some success, do you meet any of your idols? Eddie Van Halen or anybody?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Well, with Eddie? You met Eddie early on, or what was it?
Yeah. I met him in the hallway of it was the one non-Testament tour that I did with my buddy Stu Ham. And we rehearsed at a studio in L.A., and Toto was rehearsing across from us the whole week, and I got to know Steve Lukather, great
Legend.
Guitar player,
Legend.
Great guy too, and we still say hello, and he's just completely awesome. And his buddy was Eddie, and Eddie stopped by one day. But he was hammered, and it was the middle of the afternoon, and I was already nervous to begin with because this is like my idol.
The reason you play,
the reason
guitar.
I play, the reason I'm here, and also I think now I have a better idea of like how to deal with famous people. There's no manual on that.
Yeah. And you don't know what mood they're in or what they just came out of 5 minutes ago out of their car or whatever, right, when you meet them. That one of those things.
Right. And they're also they're hearing that all the time.
Oh.
Like, you're the reason I play, man. You know?
Yeah, it must make him crazy.
Yeah. So, knowing now, the things I didn't know then, I'd probably talk about cars or something. I actually met Billy Gibbons very recently, and we talked about cars.
He's so great.
And he's a super. He's the coolest guy.
Yeah.
That's a situation. Meet your heroes.
Yeah. So you meet Eddie.
So I mean, he's stumbling drunk. He had a new guitar. His first.
That what you call it from that one the Wolfgang guitar or whatever.
It was before the Wolfgang. Wolfgang.
Yeah,
hadn't been
Peavey.
born yet, but it was. I guess it was Peavey, right?
Right.
The first one.
Yep.
So, the first non-striped Strat-like guitar.
Exactly.
We have a nice guitar too.
Oh, they're killer.
Yeah, he had it out of the case. He's passing it around to like the guys on Toto's crew, and he has it back and says, "Hey, can I try it?" So I play it, and I said the worst thing apparently that I could say.
Oh no!
Which I thought this was a compliment.
Yeah.
We were talking about Charvel earlier. I know, like his original guitars, he put a Charvel neck on the guitar.
Of course.
So it's great. And I said something like, it reminds me of one of those great early Charvels. And he said, it's not a Charvel. It's my design.
Oh man!
Give me that.
Whoa! Oh no!
I mean, maybe he didn't say "give me that."
Yeah.
But, I mean,
No, I get it.
heard that.
I get it. It's nothing to make you smaller.
It was just like, no, it's not.
Yeah. I've had some situations like that with stars, and you just feel like shit because it's like your idol, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, it was like Napoleon Dynamite, pre-Napoleon.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
God.
Who are you?
Yeah, what
you
is that?
lackey.
Yeah.
Are you a studio assistant? Yeah, that just making you feel like shit. Oh, that happened to me with Jeff Tweedy from Wilco.
Oh, no.
I was kind of working part-time at Real Guitars on Saturdays. He came in and he bought a Martin that I wanted forever. He bought it. It was like $5,000 at the time, or $3,500. And I saw him backstage about 2 hours later, Berkeley Greek. And I was just walking down the hall, and there he was playing it by himself in the room. And I go, hey, I was saying hi because he saw me earlier. I go, man, I always wanted that guitar, but the neck was just, it was kind of like it was a big V. It was a big kind of boat-shaped V.
Yeah, I know the type. Yeah.
I go, it was like a big V. And he looked up at me, and then he looked at the neck, and he goes, no. And just kept playing. I was like, oh, I thought we were going to talk, And I was like, that's my idol.
I've since heard stories of Eddie.
Yeah.
That make me not feel so bad.
Oh, yeah. It's
Like, honestly, apparently, like, my experience was nothing. Mine was quite pleasant compared to some.
There's an interesting video of when Eddie on YouTube, when he re-signs, I guess with Fender or Charvel, like 5 years ago or whatever, and they're doing like a press conference. He just shows up loaded, man. This is before he's sober now,
Yeah, now
he's
Yeah, I've seen him interviewed. Yeah, oh my God, he seems so much better.
Yeah, thank God.
I'd like to meet this guy.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we lost Eddie? That would be.
I know, and I'm so glad he's okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I kind of, I don't take it personally. And it's interesting. I did have an experience like that with Steve Vai too. I just felt he was. It was different, but it was just like, so standoff. It was like a caricature.
Yeah.
Of just like, maybe I'll talk to you later.
Oh my God.
But you talk to him now? He's like the best guy, and he even talks about like what he went through in that period. Like,
oh wow, what was it? Was it?
It's like almost like a fame addiction.
Oh wow. After the David Lee Roth era.
Yeah, he's at that time.
Yeah.
And he was on the cover of every magazine.
Oh, he was the new Eddie.
And then it stopped.
Yeah.
And what happens when it stops?
Oh.
Yeah, and you hear him talk about it. It's actually really interesting. And he's such, it's like, oh, I like this. I like this guy. I like the new Vine.
The honesty too. The honesty of coming out of that.
Yeah. When I toured, so that was the beginning of my tour with Stu Ham when I met Eddie, and it was kind of a disaster. I remember that we played New York, and Will Lee came to the show.
Oh wow!
And it was just super cool.
Will Lee, that's cool.
Yeah, super cool. The guy's on TV every night, and I think I noticed that some people I met were really cool. Some were not so cool.
Yeah.
But some were cool in different situations. I know, Dave Mustaine, for example. I like Dave. Dave. He is a very well-intentioned guy. He can be caught at the wrong moment.
Yeah. I mean,
do not catch him at the wrong moment.
I think it's.
But I know that's not him.
Yeah.
We know those of us that have, been around a long time. We know who he is, and we know. And but that's it. Then there's others where they're just the nicest people, and you're just in shock. Billy Gibbons, that's the most recent example I can remember. Yeah.
He let me play his guitars.
Yeah.
He gave me one of those cards, Friends of Billy Gibbons.
Oh,
he gave me one of his like those Buffalo nickel picks or whatever. He was just so cool. Run me through because we kind of jumped ahead, but what was that Testament audition like? How did they find you? Were you known in the neighborhood as a hot young guitar player? Because I don't know about you until you're in Testament, and of course I was heavily in the Bay Area scene. Were you in a band before Testament? How do they find out about you?
No, I was just a kid at the clubs. I knew a lot of the bands. The guys from the band Exodus.
Oh, great.
From Berkeley.
Yeah, the best.
Yeah, so I would see them. A couple of them would hang out at the park at Berkeley High School. So
wow.
Probably,
like Gary Holt or Rick or who?
Paul Bailoff.
Paul Bailoff just hanging at the park.
May he rest in peace. Yeah.
Oh, God, what a God.
Rick Hunolt.
Yeah.
You'd see these guys and, oh, there they are at the park. There
they are, bonded by blood at the park.
Yeah. The guy who replaced Kirk Hammett in Exodus his name is Mike Mong. And he was only there for a few shows. But
before Rick comes in?
Yeah.
Right.
And he's been in a million bands. I have an older brother that during that time played bass and never played metal. Was always more of new wave, which is like an outdated.
Well, that was booming during that time too.
Huge. And also
huge.
there wasn't that much separation from the scene. You would go. I remember there was a new wave band that was huge called the Uptones.
Uptones.
Ska band.
Yep.
Ska, new wave, whatever you want to call it. You'd go to that show. You'd see some of the same people that you'd see at an Exodus show.
Yeah. Then you go see like Le Mans or Roadrunner or Vane.
Yeah.
And then
Vane,
Vane one night, and the next night you're watching Death Angel. It was just it was a scene, a music scene.
Or the Freaky Executive.
Freaky Executives or Curveball or even Huey Lewis early on and all that sound, the Tubes, everything for the Bay Area. It was just kind of everybody would go see everybody.
Yeah, so my brother's biggest gig in the Bay Area was the Freaky Executives.
Oh, wow.
And
he played bass?
He played bass.
Yeah, I think my drummer played in that band, Ed Berman.
Oh, yeah, it might have been different time.
Right, yeah.
They lasted a long time. Mike, my brother's name's Mike. He was there only the very early period.
Gotcha.
I think like the first year or so. But so I would go to all those shows. I think that's where I first met the other Exodus guys, like Gary Holt and everything. And they yeah, they would always be at those shows. So Mike was the guitar player. He became the guitar player. So I was the kid. I was Mike Skolnick's younger brother. Skolnick's little brother. I remember even guys calling me that by name.
Yeah.
Hey, Skolnick's little brother. Where's your brother?
Yeah.
Everybody knew I played guitar, but nobody had heard me play guitar. So the next thing you know, I hear about this band that needs a guitar player. I tried to start bands in high school, and it wasn't like now where there's like kids on YouTube who can, play
everything.
Van Halen. It was like I was still at an age like a lot of people were starting to play guitar, or they'd only played a couple years, and I'd played since I was 10, and I was ready. I was ready to be in a band, and I realized I need to work with a band that exists. I was also like painfully shy. Like I was painfully shy as a kid. I was just starting to come out of my shell a little bit, but not enough to sort of be the taskmaster.
Yeah,
and get these guys to rehearsal, and
you got to join. You got to join a band.
Yeah, you need somebody with a type A personality. And boy, so I joined the band, and the singer at the time is Steve Zetro Souza.
That's right.
Talk about a type A person.
Yeah. Wait, so they hear about you and they say you want to come audition?
Yeah. So I'm this kid. I wasn't even old enough to get into some of these shows. I would carry amps. I remember like carrying some of the Exodus amps just to get in.
Yeah.
And at some point, Exodus played, and they had the band as a support act. The band was called Legacy at the time, and I actually didn't see them. Everybody told me, "Oh, you missed this band. It's a heavy band. Yeah. You got to see this band, Legacy. You got to see." So then I think I finally saw them at Ruthie's. And this is a cool band. I like this. All right, I'll keep my eye on it. This seems like, and at the time it really seemed like, okay, Metallica is going national. So Exodus was like, filling the void. They were big, and now I'll bet this band is going to be next in the line of succession. And almost on cue, I get a call within a few weeks that the guitar player left the band. They're looking for a new guitar player.
Who was the guitar player before you?
It was Derek Ramirez, Eric's cousin. And the guy who told me who first told me about the band, was a guy I went to school with. He was my age, but he's got a bit of a hustler. His name's Alexis Olsen.
I know him.
Remember that guy?
Yeah, he managed bands and stuff.
Yeah, he managed bands, exactly.
Mordred and stuff like that. Yeah. Wow. He would always come down to the Omni when I was booking it.
Yeah.
He'd be like, you gotta put this band in. Come on, I need him on this slot.
That's right. In fact, now that I think back, I can hear your name in his voice. I'm talking to Dean Delraiser.
Exactly.
Yeah, he had like this Johnny Cash register voice.
He was tall. He looked like he was in a band.
Yeah, he looked kind of
And
nuts.
he always hung with Eric, the bass player, Eric
Wong.
Eric Wong, and they were like best friends.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
So Alexis, all right, so you know who Alexis was. So Alexis also started managing the band, which didn't work out. That eventually fell apart for many reasons. But it was Alexis who, I'm grateful he let me know about this, and he pushed. He's like, "You guys got to try out my friend." Yeah. So I thought, okay, whatever. Yeah, and I go to this. We go to this rehearsal studio in downtown Oakland, which is pre-gentrification downtown Oakland.
Absolutely. And all
it's
the
not
bands,
like that now.
All the bands would rehearse in that one warehouse, like Vicious Rumors. All these guys would be in this place. It's like 4 stories. You have to carry your gear upstairs. Is that joint? Or?
Yeah, very close to the Fox Theater.
Right.
has
That was
now renovated and beautiful.
And beautiful. But back then,
it was condemned.
Oh,
and,
your car in the parking lot. There'd be dudes smoking crack. There'd be gunfire.
Yeah,
it was radical.
Yeah, it was not good.
No.
So, and that's in the middle of that. That's where we rehearsed.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy thinking about it now. But yeah, we went. So I just plugged in. They're like, well, they're just. It was so awkward.
Did they give you a tape to learn songs?
No.
But they just said, show up and play some
probably
leads?
the most unprofessional audition. And, I didn't know what's supposed to happen at an audition either.
Yeah, it's your first one, right?
Yeah. I don't, and they had never auditioned anybody. It was those guys had gotten together, and they had never changed members before. So, they don't know how to do an audition. I don't know what happens at an audition. So, it was just like looking at you. So, I guess, shall you play something? You want to play something? I don't know. Play something. Okay, I'll just play something. So
my God.
So I played as though I was, in Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Picking a guitar off the rack.
Showing your skills.
Yeah. I stopped playing and they all looked like speechless. It probably sounds weird if I tell the story, but just
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know at the time. I'm like, oh God, I don't know if was this right. I mean, I could play some other stuff. I could, They're like, but right away questions. Can you rehearse? We rehearsed. And it was Steve Souza, who's again this drill sergeant, and he's just we rehearse 2 days a week. Everybody's on. You'll be on time for rehearsals. And
wow, he was militant like that, huh?
Yeah. And he gave me this speech. It's about loyalty. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was it?
He said, the Oakland Raiders have a commitment to excellence. We're like the Oakland Raiders. We stick together. We're going all the way. He points to each guy. This guy, I think he points to Greg, the bass player. He lives all the way out in Antioch. He comes in for us, battles traffic every day. This guy, Louis, he has a baby on the way. And not even that can get in the way of rehearsals. Yeah.
Wow.
So I got this crazy talk. It was...
What a great story.
And then... So I start rehearsing with them regularly. And,
now, this got to be your first time ever playing with a band and a drummer. That's got to be different because you're a room rocker, which I always call it.
I had jammed with people before.
Gotcha.
But never regularly. And never, with a show coming. Like, they had a show on the books already at Ruthie's End.
Shit.
So it was like, okay, this is on-the-job training right here. Jump,
Yeah, you got to learn your persona, your moves.
Sink or swim.
Yeah. How many weeks until the gig?
That's a good question. I believe it was in the new year, right? It was like 85. This happened, and I think this was in like early 86.
Wow.
If I remember, sometime in 85, and I think there was like maybe a month before the gig. So it was really like just jumping in there and learning the stuff. But I remember there were a few more of these talks that I didn't. I was always on time, and he Zetro called me his young son. How are you, my young son? He called me. He made up a name for me, Skull Wrecker.
Skull Wrecker.
Yeah, you're gonna be our Skull Wrecker. Yeah. You're a high school kid, but we're gonna turn you into the Skull Wrecker.
Oh my God!
Such a character. And I remember the only one who was chronically late to rehearsals was Eric, the other guitar player.
He lived up in like Roner Park at the time, right? Or did he live somewhere far?
I think he still lived in Alameda.
Oh, I got you.
I forget what was going on. But at one time, I remember he got this big old lecture, what is your excuse? What do you do? He didn't have a job at the time. Yeah. I work. Greg works. We show up on time. What do? You wake up, you eat a bowl of cereal. What the fuck do you do? Yeah.
I thought I was militant. I thought I was bad with the no girlfriends at rehearsal. This guy's like Sergeant D.
He was.
Oh my God.
Ironically, the first guy to leave the band was you know who.
How did that go down? Exodus asked him to join. Does he show up at rehearsal and tell you guys he's leaving?
That was a freaking crazy thing. Yes. Well, no, we heard like nobody could keep a secret in the Bay Area. Sort of, it was
totally.
Yeah. So we heard, Bailoff's out of Exodus. Wow, what are they gonna do? I wonder who they're gonna get. And I think. Oh, to his credit, Alexis was the guy that just sort of knew everyone and knew everything before it happened. There's a rumor that they're coming after Steve. I'm going to try to stop it. I'm
going to try to stop it. I love this story. I love it because it's such the early nucleus of well, of course, Exodus has been rolling and they were just absolutely next level with Bailoff, but it's the early nucleus of this whole thing because we get two great records once Chuck comes in. But so, were you guys like, we're done?
Yeah, it was a big... it was a big curveball. Like, what do we do now?
Yeah, because he's the leader of the band.
And he came and he kind of broke down. He was really emotional. All of a sudden, like the Mr. Tough Guy, he was like really emotional and tears. I'm sorry. It was a total man cry thing. But at the time, he's like, sometimes you have to think what's best for the group, and sometimes you have to think what's best for you, and I have to look at my life, and there was this whole
and you
thing.
guys didn't have a deal on the table or anything.
No, but we were already in talks. I mean, we were already being considered for a deal. To make it first try. So we had to find somebody.
So you guys were in talks with labels?
Yeah, we were already we were talking to a bunch of European labels, and we were actively pursuing the deal with Megaforce. I mean, that actually looked like it was potentially going to happen. And then, just as things are getting going, we lose our singer.
Whew. And then what does Megaforce say? Hey, we're still interested, but get a new singer, or does everybody just go see you later?
No, they were to their credit, they were open about it. Let's see what happens. This happens. They're from Jersey.
Yeah.
Johnny and Marcia Z. Yeah. Hey, you guys. This is the breaks. This is what happens in this business. So we'll talk. You guys. Marcia. Yeah. It happens, What is he gonna do?
Like, I mean, everybody.
They were fine.
Everybody back then was losing members. I mean, Metallica is, or Kirk goes from Exodus to Metallica.
It was like this highly dramatic thing too.
Oh yeah,
especially back then.
Oh yeah, because everybody was tight, and they'd be like, "You stole our guy," or "Oh my God, we lost a guy."
Yeah, it's really intense, and not that it can't still be that way today, but back then it was. Yeah, it was a really big deal.
Well, I think bands were so serious back then too. Back when we played early on, I mean, you were like really into being in a band. I would be like, these are our guys, like Steve's saying. This is our dude. We go out every night. We're a presence.
Oh, yeah.
We let people know we're a band. We flyer. We hang.
Right. Somebody should do a psychological study on this, because it really is like it becomes like a second family.
It does. Right? And sometimes a first family when you don't have a family.
Or you don't get along with your family.
Right.
And,
it's your true family.
I was at that point, and... suddenly, here's this family, and then somebody steals a member of your family for their family.
It's so true, though.
Yeah, it was nuts. But now, it's,
Oh, yeah.
well, everybody's friends, and it's like, yeah.
Do you remember looking at other singers other than Chuck?
I remember, talking to a couple other local singers, and both of them were just, they couldn't think of leaving their bands.
Oh.
And these are bands that went nowhere.
Of course, but at the time you think your band has a shot. If you didn't, you wouldn't be in that band.
Exactly.
People weren't part-time and in bands unless they were just kind of like, I don't really like this band, but I'll play here till somebody grabs me. But for the most part, if you were in a band, you were in it because you liked that band and you were a gang.
Yeah, and I couldn't have done that. Like, I'm not somebody who, could have sort of climbed my way up through different bands and stuff, intentionally. I just, that takes a certain personality. And like, I knew guys who made the move to LA to find bands, and some of them did, but that took a whole other chutzpah that I didn't have at that point. At that point, I'm just trying to break out of,
just Berkeley.
My life. Yeah, the Berkeley, exactly. Trying to get out.
To
of
move
Berkeley.
to LA, even though it was only 300 miles, was like serious. Like,
it's a big deal.
It was a
huge
big deal back then, man.
Yeah.
I remember when Jet Boy moved, it was like, whoa, they're leaving the Bay Area. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It really felt like that.
Yeah. I don't think it ever worked out for. I can't think of any band that worked out for, that they moved to LA and then they made it out of LA.
Yeah, I think most bands that we know that made it out of the Bay Area because that's what was so unique about the band.
Yeah, and Metallica moved to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But they were already moving so fast by the time they did that it made sense.
Now, you joined back up in Testament years later. How did that go down? Were you kind of ready? And Chuck said, "Let's see if he wants to do it." I know you came back. You did the one record,
right.
The re-record, and then everybody's fired up. Alex is back. I mean, it was a big deal, and it really kind of put Testament back on the map as here's the guys. I mean, there was even a time where Louis was back, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that was wild. Kind of original OG lineup.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting what happened. So I had moved to New York in the late 90s, and I had just decided, I needed to make the move. I figured I would be an all-around guitar player, musician, study music at the university level, which I never got to do. So I went to the new school, enrolled, got accepted.
Wow.
Studied with just some real greats of music, and did well. And it was a real corrective experience because I actually enjoyed it. Like at that point, I had, I'd seen the world. I'd come out of my shell. I was able to, I learned how to enjoy learning. So I also studied philosophy and creative writing, and it's like really like sort of found myself outside of that.
Like full artist mode.
Yeah, completely. And I started my trio, which I still have now, and started playing with a bunch of different groups. I started like getting my feet wet with the rock stuff, even though I was doing like jazz full time. So I guested on that one Testament record. The other thing was the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is like one of the biggest tours of the country, and I had done a record, the one non-Testament record with a rock band was the band Savatage, and I was on a record called Handful of Rain, and before I'd just completely taken the dive into jazz. I also auditioned for Ozzy and played a show with Ozzy. That's a whole other story.
I never even knew this about you, and I thought I knew the entire timeline of the Ozzy guitar players, you know?
Yeah, I'm in a book about all the Ozzy guitar players. I'm like one of 12, I think.
Whoa! So we got Randy.
Right.
Now, also after Randy, I had Mark Torian on from Bullet Boys. He said he was the replacement for a few months or a few weeks, and then got canned, and they got Jakey or whatever.
Oh, I never knew that.
I didn't either know, and I don't know if that was real or what. But he said that, and then we got Jakey, we got Joe Holmes, we got Zach Wilde.
Yes.
And there's 12.
Yeah. So they did it. I auditioned. I got flown to London.
What era?
This is 95.
So after Zach?
Yeah. So at that point, I think Zach was starting to do his own thing.
Pride and Glory.
Yeah, or I guess it was before. Maybe it was Black Label. I'm not sure. Whenever he started that, and then I think the story I heard. I don't know if it's true, but he was going out for drinks with Axl.
Oh,
getting hammered.
I remember that.
And there were these talks.
Yeah, I remember that. He might play in G and all.
Yeah, listen,
with Buckethead
man.
and all that. Yeah.
Not happy with what's going on here. So
yeah, bro.
Yeah, you and I we're gonna talk. So this has happened often. Sometimes it leads to bands getting together, and like Ian Gillan joining Deep Purple,
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath,
one of the greatest ever.
Right.
Born Again.
That happened that way. Yeah, it was just like a thing at a bar, but then, so yeah, they wanted a replacement for Zach. They had recorded Osmosis. I was recommended. I got sent demos of Osmosis and some other stuff. But they sent me like everything Ozzy ever did. All the discs. I still have them. And I flew over there, and it was the auditions were in a rehearsal space in London. John Henry's, which is still there. It's like the main place.
Like an SIR of London.
It's the SIR of London. Yeah, exactly. And so they had a whole line of guys there, and I just thought, there's so many players here. I'm not, I don't know if I'm gonna get this even. But sure enough, I went in. I was told beforehand, like Ozzy hates to rehearse. He'll probably just call out a song, be ready to play it. If he calls it, and he called out like 3 songs. Afterwards, everybody was telling me, wow, dude, nobody has lasted a song.
Holy shit! It was like that, huh?
Yeah.
And who's in the band at the time? Is it what's his name from Faith No More on drums?
Before him, it was Dean Castronova.
Oh, Dean, incredible
great drummer.
Yeah.
Geezer on bass.
Well, Geezer,
which is fucking awesome.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
This is a great story.
Yeah, and
you walk in, and there they are.
Yeah. And so
what's the first song he yells out?
So it was crazy. So he goes, "What do you want to play?" And I said, "I don't know. Oh. Let's do that." 2, 3, 4.
Whoa! What guitar did you bring, and what approach did you take to that? Were you coming in a Randy frame of mind? Definitely not a Zach frame, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you got a tremolo style guitar.
Yes.
Ibanez, you just go in.
I had this Les Paul Gold Top.
Oh.
That I'd gotten at House of Guitars, the one I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So I had recently got that.
So no tremolo.
No tremolo.
Gotcha. So you're going Randy Cream Les Paul style.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was told, that Ozzy, like rock and roll is Les Pauls and Marshalls.
Absolutely.
So like even like Randy's guitar with the Floyd Rose and everything, like he had to be convinced.
The Concorde, all that stuff.
Yeah, and if you have like rack gear or anything, don't let him see it.
I love this.
Yeah.
Don't let him see it.
Don't let him see it because he thinks, it's like computerized. It's not rock and roll. What is it?
Yeah.
What do we do with all these flashing lights and
This guy's a wanker.
Yeah.
Sharon.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it was a few years before that show came out, but I felt like when that show came out, I'm just like, okay, this is that world I was in for like a little over a week.
Okay,
in the
so
mid-90s.
you play I Don't Know, then what's the next one? I love this story because I'm obsessed for the whole Ozzy era. I just love it all.
If I remember, I think it was Crazy Train.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
of course.
Doing deep breaths. I'm telling you, okay, this is this is not happening. Whatever. Anyway, it went well. He wanted me to come back the next day, and so I came back the next day. We did like a whole set worth of tunes, and then
A whole set?
well, like 10 songs.
And you knew the stuff.
Yeah, I'd been living, breathing, and eating that music for months.
This is incredible.
And also, I didn't know exactly when I was gonna. I think like 3 months went by when like they were in the studio. They were finishing up the write. They didn't know when they were gonna do these auditions. So you'll get a call and we'll set up a flight, but I'm not sure when.
So
that's
just
gonna
be ready.
Just be ready, yeah. So I got a call from Sharon Osbourne, and she says, "Could you get on a plane to London today?" Today?
Nobody's time.
Out of the blue, and this is weeks later. So I'm sure I can. I gotta move some things around. I got whatever was going on that day. I'm just like, let me just And then I got a call back and says, okay, I understand that's hard for you. We've extended the flight. Can you come tomorrow morning? Which was better.
Yeah. And you're living in New York at the time?
No, I hadn't moved yet.
Ooh, long flight.
Yes. Yeah, I was still living in Berkeley. I think that this whole experience, too, like, helped trigger my move to New York because it was just like, and I'm not going to get a more exciting phone call than that.
No.
Like,
that's the top.
It was a real, so when it ended up not working out, like it was real like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. So you get the gig though.
I got the gig according to him.
Okay.
Well, here's what happened. So they book an unannounced show, and it's in Nottingham, where like Ozzy frequently does unannounced
small
shows.
Theater or
It's a place called Rock City, medium-sized theater. That's it's on the circuit. I'd actually played there before, but it was there was one more rehearsal, and he didn't make the rehearsal. He had a sore throat, and then suddenly I remember the gig was off.
Oh shit!
And we were already in Birmingham, and it's just his sore throat. And I remember Geezer looking just really like angry, like. And then nope, it's on again. It was just crazy. So it was really like my first experience being around somebody like that level of celebrity, and just everything that kind of happens on a whim depending on
yeah
your mood. I just never experienced that, and I think the people that are really good at dealing with celebrities, they can deal with that. They roll. That's what you have to do. You have to roll with it. And I remember like the whole thing, it was really unorganized. And there was, once it was back on again, the crew had already left. So there was nobody to, we had to put equipment in the truck. And
man.
So me and the drummer.
Yeah.
And just like a couple guys that were left, we're like huffing gear. And it's like,
you're in Ozzy,
this
but
is Ozzy, yeah.
You're roadieing your own shit.
Roadies,
and he's
Ozzy,
huge.
Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, and the show went well.
Wow, you got it on tape or anything?
Everybody said it's actually online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On YouTube?
Audio.
Oh yeah, I got to hear this. So you play the gig. Do you think it was like a live audition?
Yeah, it was. I think so. Yeah.
And then you're out.
Well, he told me, "You've got the gig." Afterwards, he gave me a big hug, and then the whole crew all said, "Man, we haven't seen him this happy since Randy."
Whoa,
That was crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was like, so it felt really good. The only one that didn't congratulate me afterwards was Sharon, and I got a call like weeks later. I'm sorry, I didn't even hear back. I had to like track her down, and it's like, look, I called her office. At this point, I'm assuming, okay, I think this isn't. I would have heard something by now. But yeah, it was. And knowing what I know now, I think she, as an entertainment person, she was used to the Zach thing, right?
Super flashy.
Zach wore the guitar down on his knees.
Oh yeah, and you were up there bow tie style.
Not quite.
Why?
No.
But I mean,
I had lowered the guitar. I'd gotten word.
Yeah, gotten
She
word.
would like me to lower the guitar. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck your plane. It's got to be low.
It
No
was
rack.
all about image.
No rack gear. Image. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's used to, Zach, this lumberjack.
And then Joe gets the gig.
So they
right?
end up going with, they have Joe.
When I saw him with Joe, they just had Joe in the dark. You couldn't even see Joe.
Yeah.
It was
kind of,
and
it didn't work out great for him either.
Not at all. You couldn't see Joe. I couldn't believe he was in the band. It was kind of this weird era of Ozzy where they had just given up on having the guitar god, and it was just Ozzy, and everybody else just stay back by your amps.
Well, yeah. Wow. That's brutal.
I mean, that's how I remember it. I just remember he wore like camouflage pants. I kind of remember his outfit, and I was just like, where is he?
Well, it is weird. It's almost like it didn't happen.
Exactly.
And then
And then Zach came back.
Zach came back, or no? Or did Gus G?
The Sabbath reunion or something.
Right, the Sabbath reunion happened.
Yeah.
And then, and then there was Gus G for a while.
Oh yeah, Gus G. That was always interesting.
And then, great player.
Yeah.
And he handled it well, I thought. And then, Zach came back a few, fairly recently.
Yeah, I believe Zach is just the guy for the band.
He is the
Other
guy.
than Randy, that's just what it
There's
is.
just so much history. And
Yeah. What would be really interesting is if Jakey Lee came back for a run. That would be wild.
Yeah. It's too bad. Like how he was so on top of the guitar world at that time. Like how it's very surprising that you just don't hear much about him now.
I know. It's sad,
But yeah, so that whole episode, so that had happened in the 90s, in the mid 90s, and I think that that had really helped sort of propel me to just really, explore music and explore music on a different level, and different types of musicians, and kind of what I'm doing now. Except Testament resurfaced, and I was starting to tell that story. It started as just a quick reunion. So I had played with I played the one record in around 2000, and it was just supposed to be like almost like a quiet farewell tour. Get the original guys, but they were done. Like I think they were going to do other bands, and they just thought, it was like one last go around. And so we did a couple festivals in Europe, and it went so well that I had fun. Everybody was much more mature than before. And the offers started coming in, and the next thing we're asked to do more gigs. And it got to the point where, we really need to do a record. It actually, I think the motivation for doing another record really happened when we found out about this amazing tour with Judas Priest, Motorhead, and Heaven and Hell.
Oh man!
Like that'll be like this old, you know, there's a chance you guys could do this tour. You have to have a record. So then suddenly, all right, you know what? We're back. We have to buckle down and do a record. And I think at that point for Louis, it was time to step aside.
Yeah.
We love Louis. He's still a great friend of the band. He comes to a lot of
Part of the
gigs.
family.
Yeah, he's family. But at that point, it's like, okay, we need to take things to another place.
We're going full tilt round 2.
Yeah. And they, at that point too, the band had drummers that were just, you know, these sort of next level drummers.
Gene Hoglan,
our
man.
bud, who I know you had on. Yeah, Lombardo, Tempesta.
Oh yeah, Tempesta. We Jamie and I from Hatebreed were listening to Gene Hoglan on the re-record, I guess, and oh my God, just the groove and the craziness of that drumming. How great is that?
Yeah, and I think for me too, that was really exciting. Just Gene wasn't there yet when I played. That was a few years later, but just to be playing with like these types of drummers, oh, that's a different experience. I suddenly found, I was excited by the music in ways that I wasn't before. So like total respect to Louis, but Louis was really more of like a rock drummer who adjusted his playing, to fit a thrash band.
Yeah.
But then the drummers that they'd had since then, were just these monsters. So then I come back. So you have
now it's like
my
a
guitar
Hemi.
stylings.
It's like a Hemi.
Yeah, with these crazy drummers, it becomes a whole new thing.
Ooh,
so
man.
that's how the band really got resurrected. And here we are now. And, we just did a tour with Slayer, the Slayer Farewell Tour.
It's unbelievable for you guys. It's
we've been all over. Like we've been to Russia. We've been to we go to Europe every year. Do these big festivals. It's fast. I never saw it coming. Yeah. But I'm also able to do my multiple projects, multiple genres of music. So I feel like there's a good balance.
That's great.
Yeah. Whereas at the time, I realized if I had stayed in the band, like I would have just always been the guy from that band.
Yeah.
And I needed. I'm the type of musician. I just need to do more than one thing.
It's incredible what wave that metal is having again right now, because with all the people that stayed in it, say a Death Angel, Testament, Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer. All these guys are out just crushing it, and stayed in the game all these years. Here we are, 25, 30 years in. Yeah,
well, some of them, were on hiatus for a while. Death Angel,
of course,
was on hiatus.
Yeah, they had the organization for a while and all that, but now
they're, back doing it and doing it well.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty amazing. I mean, Metallica, they're in a whole other category.
Yeah. Well, they're just.
I think anybody who
they're like AC/DC now.
Yeah, if you're able to tour at that level.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no problem.
Not that it's easy. Yeah. I mean, I know that comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
So comfort is not one of the challenges.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. When you're playing metal like they are at that age, but you got some masseuses and private jets and 5-star hotels, it gets easier. It's still away from your family and everything, but it is definitely full on a giant machine.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing what they're doing.
Now we're out here in New York. You've moved back to New York. How long ago did you move back to New York?
I came to New York in the late 90s.
And you've been here since?
Yeah.
Holy smokes! Yeah. Now, where are you at?
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in kind of part of Park Slope, which is almost in Gowanus.
Is that where you landed when you first moved here? Are you in the same place?
No, when I first moved here, I was in the Village. I was going to the new school.
Yeah.
So I lived near there. I lived on the Upper West Side for a few years. And then I really liked Brooklyn. Before it was popular.
Right,
It was kind of like, it was considered a step down. And I figured, okay, I'm sure it'll make economic sense to live there, but nobody moves to New York to move to Brooklyn,
Yeah.
At that time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cabs didn't want to go to Brooklyn. It was a whole other thing. And I just really liked it. And it's a little strange now that it's like popular and there's HBO
Park Slope's
series
amazing.
about Brooklyn. But yeah, Park Slope's amazing. Barclays Arena opened up, and that just changed everything.
You got Fort Greene, Park Slope, Williamsburg, all that is great.
Yeah, Carroll Gardens.
Yeah, ever since Girls, this TV show,
exactly.
Girls, it just exploded it.
That changed everything. Yeah.
And what did New York change for you in your mind wise? You're in the Bay Area forever, and you land in New York. You don't have any friends out here at the time.
Well, my family is originally from New York, so I am the offspring of New York Jews who are academics that were on faculty at UC Berkeley.
Yeah, your parents were teachers.
My father was a law professor.
Wow.
And my mother a research psychologist. And they're both New Yorkers, but I was born out there. And I sort of rediscovered New York. After my folks retired from UC Berkeley, they came to New York just to live for a couple of years and teach part-time. And I would come out to visit, and I just had all this energy. I just felt it. I was inspired.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pursue my projects and play more, practice more, and work harder. And then I'd go back to the Bay Area with all this energy, and people would say, "Man, you sound great. What have you been doing?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Man, I don't know. I was in New York. I'm all inspired.
I'm taking this drug called New York."
Yeah. And then a week would go by, and okay, I'm still feeling it a little bit. Another week would go by. What were those plans I was making? I would lose it, and I'd come back to New York. All right, I feel great. Yes, I remember. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do. And then I'd go back to finally, and I was making friends out here, and my friends were just telling me, "Dude, you just have to move here. Like, come on, it's just do it. What's the worst? Move for a year.
Exactly.
That's all you have to do. Put your stuff in storage. You come out. You can always turn around and go home."
It's that easy.
Yeah.
It really is that easy. Shit in storage, go see something else, live something else, take in different experiences, meet different people, eat different food, different weather, climate. All that is going to shake up what you might have been, deep roots into the couch.
It's a big decision. I think it's hard for some to wrap their heads around.
It's scary.
It's a very scary decision. And you have to really face reality. It makes you discover parts of yourself that you didn't know existed, that you might have been in denial about.
Yeah.
And it can be tough, but I think it's such a good thing to do. And I tell people, even if it's not New York, just
somewhere,
move somewhere other than where you grew up and where you have all the memories of childhood, and see the same people, and they act the same way. They look at you the exact same way. And, I think just making that change is really important. But for me, it was this very dramatic switch of Berkeley, California to New York.
Yeah, I feel the same way. If you go somewhere, like I lived in, the Bay Area my whole life. Then 35, I moved to LA, and
that's a big
deal.
Yeah.
At 35 years old, you're giving up your whole life and all your friends and everything, and you're moving to a city that could easily eat you alive quick. And now I've been coming out to New York for like 3 years now. Awesome. And that's scary, but it gets you into that. I think it really gets you into do I want to do something in life different nonstop, trying to learn, trying to explore, or are you just going to tap out and this is where I live and this is what I do for the rest of my life?
Yeah, no, I think it's impressive that you did that.
Yeah,
especially at 35. I was at the end of my 20s.
Yeah,
which I think maybe that can be a motivator for some people. This huge milestone coming up. But at 35, that's great.
And then here in New York at like 50,
right.
Coming out at 50 years old. All right, just walking the streets in a city that could eat you real quick. This city, yeah.
But it's nicer than people in the West
Not
Coast.
Crime-wise, I'm just saying if you don't know anybody. Like I know people in the biz, but I see them at night when I'm doing shows. But during the day, people have lives here.
Right.
And you're like, hey, anybody want to hang? They're like, dude, I'm busy.
Yeah. People get very busy here.
Oh, yeah. I got to pay rent, so I'm working.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. I've had friends move here from the Bay Area. There's a few others of us transplants. We don't see each other that much.
Nope.
We want to.
Yeah.
But we're so busy.
Jim Campolongo.
Yes.
Nels Klein. All those guys are over there in Brooklyn.
So you knew them from before?
I knew Jim Campolongo because I took lessons from him, but we re-hooked up here after 30 years.
Oh, that's so cool.
Only knew
He's incredible. Yeah, what a great musician. Now, if I remember right, there were these shows in San Francisco where he would play in one room, and you would play in another.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it. At the Paradise Lounge.
The Paradise Lounge.
So he'd play a residency, and my band would play a residency, and we were just there like every Monday and Fridays, and it was just epic, just playing music for a living.
I remember those.
It was wild, Now, did you buy out there early on? Are you renting? Are you in the same place? What's changed?
Oh, in Brooklyn?
No, in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I bought a place around 2007.
Awesome.
And it's not much bigger than this, but you know what?
You own it.
It's great. It's so great to own a place.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did. And it's it just takes off so much pressure. I mean, it's hard at first. It's hard for a few years. You're saving up. You make that down payment, and
and your money's gone there.
But you have no money, and then but you get to that point. Past that point, a few years go by, and especially if you can like refinance and make deductions because you use it, as an office, or you find you're paying less per month than people who are renting.
It's great.
And if you ever move away, you'll walk away with,
a good chunk.
A good chunk of cash, yeah.
Now, you ever get married or anything?
I was married for a couple years.
Wow.
I think I jumped into it too soon.
How old were you?
I was 31.
Oh, got you.
And, my ex is Israeli. And she was a fellow student at the school. Very good vocalist.
New school.
The new school, yeah. But I visited Israel with her, which was amazing. I had never been to Israel, and just growing up, I was a very non-observant Jew. It was really interesting to sort of experience that.
Yeah, the deep religious culture and all that.
Yeah, not necessarily religious, but more like traditional and the sense of identity and everything. And it was a very eye-opening experience, and I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, we got to the point where she more and more wanted to live in Israel.
Oh, and
I like Israel.
Yeah, but you're not going out there.
I was just starting to make inroads here, and I had done my first instrumental album, and it was actually getting good reviews, and it was covered in Downbeat and all these places like I never thought I would be before. and things are happening, and I'm like, I can't move there. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Marty Friedman style going to Japan. That was wild, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I live in Japan now.
I think that's brilliant. And
Yeah.
that was what, clearly what he was meant to do. But for me, no. And this is, right at the time where I was like finding myself again, and in New York, and that's it's a part of who I am. Many from the Bay Area have said, oh, you'll be back, and it's been years.
I'll never be back to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You go back there now, and you're
It's
just
strange.
such a disconnect.
Yeah.
It's like none of the people are there. We're not kids anymore.
Right.
And it's not like $5 to live there, and there's no rock clubs, and there's, that's just a thing what you did when you were a kid. And then when you get out and then come back years later, you're like, there's so much more than this 10-mile radius in the world.
Yeah. But I guess a lot of people from those days are just sort of still in that mindset.
Oh, totally.
And it began to feel like a small town.
It really did.
Right? But it's very deceptive because it's this major metropolis.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's kind of disconnected from the rest of the... Right?
Especially the music scene. It's so small.
It's really small.
And as we got older and older, the people that left it and got out of it, it got really small. Like, here's the only pocket of people that play music anymore. It was wild.
Where do you go to play? I mean, you can go to L.A. L.A.'s far.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the whole day of driving. You're not going to play the same day as you drive. Okay, well, we can go to Seattle. Well, that's far too.
That's further.
Yeah, or Portland. It's all far. Whereas if you're in New York, you can go to Boston.
Yep.
It's 4 hours. You drive there, do the gig that night.
Absolutely.
D.C.
Connecticut. Yep.
Philadelphia. Only 2 hours.
Long Island. You could go to Long Island.
And I try to explain that it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
The geographical location and the vicinity of other cities.
You got a car?
No.
No, yeah.
I love not having one.
I know.
Amazing.
Isn't it great?
It's such freedom. Yeah, I don't miss it.
Not at all. Let's talk a little bit about Conundrum. I just listened to it today. What a great record.
Oh, thanks so much.
And I am definitely somebody that listens to all types of music. Anything from Nels Cline solo records, which I enjoy.
So good.
Jim Campolongo and you. These are great records that I put on and really appreciate.
Yeah.
The musicianship on them, the work that it takes, and the dedication, knowing that it's not going to be some radio record or humongous record, but you're playing music to play music, which is so beautiful. And some people might think, oh, that's corny. No, it's not.
It's very pure.
Very pure.
The motivations are very pure. Yeah.
How do you do these records? What labels are they on? Have they been on multiple labels? Did somebody approach you? And are they profitable at all?
The records themselves, no, but
the tours
have become profitable, and the records help support the tours.
Right.
And and occasionally you're surprised. Occasionally you move a lot of units. It's certainly not about sales. It's definitely more about the live show. But you need the recording.
That's great that there's a label that could support that, though.
Yeah, I did the very first one totally on my own. I've done a couple of them. I did a live one a couple years ago on my own. It's so much work. It's such a pain in the ass. I would rather have a label. Just get me on iTunes. Do all the paperwork that you have to do get on, to get on Amazon. You deal with that.
Yeah,
you're a record label.
Yep,
that's great. This label, it's called Palmetto, but Palmetto was actually a jazz label for a long time that was defunct, but it was picked up by Megaforce Records International, which is the remnants of the old Megaforce.
Wow.
But now they do all kinds of music, and they have, they're really a distribution company, which it started when Megaforce went out of business. Missy Colazzo, who was a longtime employee of Megaforce, she bought the catalog and just controlled the distribution, and she grew that company. So, they have Palmetto is their jazz label. But they have all types of music, and there's this connection to Megaforce Records, so it's kind of full circle.
That's rad. Now, do you just go in and track the record in a couple days? Do you do it at your house? How do you record these records?
These records they're done over the course of a few days. You need a recording studio to do this because you have to see each other. Yeah. It's very
improvised.
It's improvisation, but all the songs have forms. But it's very interactive. It needs to be played live, like you would at a live concert. In order to do that, with sort of jazz guitar sound and acoustic bass and drums, you need separation, right? The reason why can't you just do a recording from a live gig and make that the album? Well, it's going to sound like a live album. All the instruments are going to bleed into each other.
Yeah.
You'll listen, you want to make adjustments with the drums. Well, there's bass coming through it.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yep.
So you need to be totally separate. So that requires a studio. So one of those big control rooms where they have closets, basically, with glass doors, where you can see
isolation booths.
Isolation booths, exactly. And other areas where you can put the amps so they don't bleed. It really requires a studio. So we've been doing these at the same studio in Long Island City.
Oh, great area.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, it was this totally rundown, sketchy, crumbling industrial area. Now, all of a sudden...
Yeah, there's TV studios over there.
Amazon is moving in.
Yeah.
So
great restaurants.
Yeah. So
$1 million lofts. $2 million lofts.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, I watched the whole development of Long Island City. That's been pretty fascinating. But, we do the records there. And... are
you playing the L7 in this band?
Oh, you mean the L5?
I mean the L5?
No, I play Godin, which is a company in Montreal that makes these really beautiful guitars. They're actually the biggest guitar manufacturer in North America. They're one of the few that they don't have offshore building. It's all done from their headquarters, and I use the electric guitar on a couple songs. So I have an ESP signature guitar that I like a lot, and there are a couple acoustic tracks on here, and I'm using Taylor. Yeah, Taylor.
You know what I like? I like that 70s Ibanez George Benson.
That's a great guitar.
That's a great guitar.
I'd love to grab one of those if I can find one.
I remember seeing it as a kid in the music store. I would go into the music store every day after school. They had the Paul Stanley Iceman.
Right.
Black with the abalone. And right next to it, the George Benson that was blonde with the abalone. And I remember at that time just looking at these things and going, these things are works of art.
Yeah.
And I would play the Paul Stanley. It was fun. But when I play the George Benson, I was like, this thing plays itself. It was just...
Yeah, they're really great
guitars.
guitars.
Oh, it's so good, right?
It's really, really nice.
Now, you were using Heritage for a while.
Yeah, yes. So
are they still around?
They got bought out. It's so interesting, like how things went full circle. So after my week with Ozzy, that should be a movie.
You should have someone animate that. Just do a 5-minute cartoon.
Have you seen those?
That's great. I love that one. Tales of the Tour Bus and all that.
The Tony Iommi one. Oh, was amazing.
Oh,
how he got his last day on the job and how he lost his fingertips. Oh, you have to see that.
Is that on YouTube?
That's on YouTube.
I got to watch that.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
So my week with Ozzy. So that really, that whole experience, I mean, it partially pushed me to move to New York because I realized, okay, I'm not going to get a bigger gig than a bigger guitar gig anyway than, Ozzy.
Right.
So it almost happened, didn't happen. I also auditioned for the Spin Doctors. Hardly anybody knows that.
Whoa, the Spin Doctors?
Yeah, that was very strange.
Oh, no, this is a crazy story.
Yeah.
We'll get into the heritage guitars.
God, there's so many stories, man.
So Spin Doctors.
How long is this podcast?
Oh, I'll do hours. It doesn't matter to me. Now, Spin Doctors, was that when they have the big hit?
Yeah, they had the big hit. They had something, I don't know what they had, classic band meltdown on the road. Guitar player left.
Yeah.
I knew the lighting guy because he had been on the Stu Ham tour. And he said, "Hey, man, I threw your name in the hat."
Oh, man.
So I actually flew to L.A.
Yeah.
And auditioned for them. And it went, actually, I came in second.
Whoa. Came in second.
Yeah. The guy they got, he was really right for the gig.
Right. I mean, can you imagine if you were in Spin Doctors?
Yeah, it was, it's in some ways it's a very odd pairing, and I've had other people say, it kind of makes sense. I could totally see that.
Yeah. Do you listen to any of that kind of stuff, like Grateful Dead? Are you into Jerry and all that? Because us growing up in the Bay Area, I was so anti-Jerry.
No, you.
Oh, right. We were like, fuck that hippie shit. But now,
no, I've
now
opened
it's my
up
favorite.
To it. Yeah,
it's my favorite now.
I discovered some of the live stuff.
Yeah,
and I said, oh, actually, I heard some of that a live Dead concert, not knowing who it was, and just like, wow, this is really cool. And I was like shocked. Like, that's the Grateful Dead?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't know about this. Like, I just know like Truckin' and Uncle John's Band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those are songs.
Yeah, you Touch of Grey.
Okay, no, that doesn't really do much for me, but I can appreciate that side of it now. And I was a huge fan of a band called Aquarium Rescue Unit.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name in that band?
The guitarist is Jimmy Herring.
Yeah, Jimmy Herring. Whew, man.
He's one of the best, one of the nicest guys too. He'd be a fun guy to interview. I actually interviewed him for Premier Guitar.
Oh, that's great. Does he live out here?
He's in Atlanta.
Gotcha.
Just the most humble guy too. Like he just has no idea how amazing he is.
Yeah.
And so I had been a fan of him, and I actually saw the Spin Doctors live because my friend who was working with them put me on the list, and I thought it was a really fun show. It's really cool. So I thought, okay, why not? I'll give this a shot. And I think the Ozzy thing happened like a year later, and it was like Spin Doctors audition in '94, Ozzy audition, and it was all trying to tell me something. It was just like, don't wait around.
Do your thing.
Do your thing, and it's probably going to take years, and you may not know what that is for years. And I didn't. I probably, not till like the early O's did I really find myself as an instrumentalist, and then everything else that's happened since. But when I got the L5, I made this deal with myself, right, to become a passable, respectable jazz,
or return it.
Yeah, or return it. And okay, that's great. And I did that. I stuck with it. The problem was that guitar is so valuable.
Oh.
I needed a guitar for for gigs.
Yeah.
And I'm like playing around at that point. I was moving to New York. I'm going to be bopping around, playing
Subway.
Going on the train.
A $1 zillion guitar.
Yeah. So I need a guitar. That can't be the guitar. I need another guitar. What the hell am I going to do? So Heritage made perfect sense. It was Yeah, they're not cheap.
No.
But oh man, I got this beautiful Heritage, and that was actually that hollow body was my main guitar on most of the trio records until the very recent ones. So that was I discovered Heritage that way, and the owner of Blue Note Music. I don't know if you remember this guy, but he was a bit of a character. You know, he was a huge Heritage guy. And it makes sense because they're great guitars.
Yeah, there was those people that were G&L and Heritage.
Yeah,
Leo Fender's real stuff is G&L. He's moved on and it's handcrafted and Heritage. That's the original Kalamazoo plant and the soul of Gibson.
So I got that whole rap.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't understand. Yeah, you could pay X amount for a Gibson, and yes, it's going to say Gibson. But if you get a Heritage, this is a guitar that's made in the original plant in Kalamazoo, the same machinery, the same builders. And I said, okay, well, it sounds really good. What if I want to return it? And he looked at me and said, no one ever returns a Heritage. I'll never forget that.
I like your face because you've channeled him. You know, you channeled him.
Yeah, I wish we could record my face for the podcast.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few years, I'm playing. So once every holiday season, I'm playing for Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Remember, I had done the one rock record that I had done in that intervening period was this band Savatage. So Savatage had basically kind of morphed into the producers of Savatage had turned them into this. They really built a show around it, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is like this holiday rock show, and they tracked me down, and I was doing that tour during, and I was using the Heritage. That was I was using the Les Paul. Heritage got a hold of me. I guess because at the time my first jazz album came out, and I had the Heritage, and then TSO was really big in Michigan. Like we'd play Grand Rapids, which wasn't far from Kalamazoo, and I think like family members of somebody there like had seen me, and then they had seen me with the Heritage in magazines, and so anyway they tracked me down and they said, hey, we'd like to get you one of our electric guitars. So they sent me like a Les Paul style Heritage guitar, and it was great. And then I that became my main electric guitar and then they sent me another, and then they wanted to build me one.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It's amazing because they didn't have a lot of signature artists with Heritage. They had Gary Moore for a while.
Gary Moore.
Yeah. Johnny Smith.
Whoa.
Who was no longer around. Yeah, it's like players like that. So I'm like, okay, this is a huge honor. So, absolutely. So for a while, I was playing Heritage as my electric and my hollow body. It changed for a couple reasons. A few years into Testament, the reunited Testament. Yeah, once Testament did the first record after the reunion, and suddenly we're touring with Priest and Slayer and Megadeth, and we're like back on that level. And going to Europe, I needed more guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing, at that point it was probably dozens, but like now, the last few years, it was like, hundreds of shows. I'm doing hundreds of shows a year between Testament and everything else. And they would take like a year or more to make the guitars. There were times where like they could barely keep the lights on.
Oh shit!
And then there were always rumors, they're about to get bought out. So they're just like wonderful instruments, and these old guys, these lovable old guys from Gibson. But they're just they don't do marketing. They don't do. You know what I mean?
I get it. they're craftsmen, but they're not businessmen.
Exactly.
You got to have a combo. Unfortunately, sometimes the business evil wipes out what makes these things such beautiful pieces of art, is like cutting corners, getting cheaper stuff, and all that stuff. So I get it.
Yeah, and that's what's happening now. They got bought out. And
Who bought them out?
I forget the name of the company.
It's just like some mega company that owns everybody.
Well, is
like
that
Cork?
a mono bag right there?
Yeah.
I recognize because I have one.
Yeah.
So it's the same company that
Whoa.
owns mono.
Whoa. They're just grabbing everything.
Yeah, and I forget what they're called, but
That's wow.
if you go to the NAMM show,
Yeah, there they are.
there's a giant booth,
Yeah.
and there's like some heritages in one corner and mono cases and then some other products. Whereas they used to be like down on the bottom floor at the NAMM show.
In their own boutique area.
Yeah, in the boutique area.
Like mono was just a little corner unit. Yeah.
But it's great stuff.
Yeah.
So I still have a lot of the guitars. I still like a lot of the guitars, but I don't use them much because I don't want anything to happen to them.
Yeah, those are original heritage now.
Yeah.
Which makes those even cool.
Yes. I have a lot. Actually, it's kind of nuts.
Where's all your gear in storage? You don't have it at your house.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. I have most of it at my place.
Wow.
I have a few on the West Coast. With the ones I used with Testament are with Testament. There's a couple that live in Europe.
Oh yeah, like that gear for flying.
Yeah. And I had some. I had a few in my storage unit, but there was a theft, and I lost them. I actually didn't know they were lost until. This is a whole other story, but the New York Times actually ended up doing a story about me getting my guitars back. I had a few guitars stolen out of storage unit. The guy put them on consignment at Sam Ash. Kid working at Sam Ash recognized the guitars. He's a fan of mine.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
what a great story.
Great story.
And you got them back.
I got them back. Yeah.
Oh.
So basically, I have a couple different corners where it's just guitars. I have several of them hanging. I have a rack in the living room. I have a closet full of it's a little nuts.
For New York, right?
Yeah. And I refuse to move to Jersey.
Oh, yeah. No way. Once you move to Jersey, you might as well just move to L.A.
It's over.
Yeah, you should just move to L.A. then, because you're just like, you're not in New York anymore.
Yeah, but I do think about space. And,
it's true. It is true.
And I have all these great instruments too. It would be nice to have. I don't know, a play.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have like a small venue where you could like display them.
How great would that be?
Yeah. Maybe one day I'll do something like. But the ones I hang on to, I do play. And I resisted working with another big guitar company, and I was approached by a bunch of them. And I ended up going with ESP because it was the one company that didn't try to hustle me and say, here, we have the perfect guitar for you. Play this. It was like, okay, what do you want to play? And we met, and I showed him that favorite Gold Top. I showed him my favorite Heritage guitars. I checked out some of their Eclipses, which I'd never played before. And I'd always thought of ESP as like, okay, George Lynch.
Metallica.
Yeah. Great artist, great play. But it's not really, but they really came through. Yeah. So the Skolnick guitar that they came up with is like it's like everything I've wanted in a Les Paul, like tone wise, but easier to play. Almost like people who've grown up on like Charvels and Ibanez, they can play it, and it's not like playing a giant log. Yeah, like some Les Pauls.
Yeah, like 70s Les Pauls.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so it's not like that at all, but it's got the tone, and it's worked out really well. So ESP does my electrics, And Godin has just been amazing. And I've played their semi-hollow bodies. And for acoustics, I was with Yamaha for a while, but recently got hooked up with Taylor, and those guitars are just incredible.
Yeah, so. they make a mean acoustic.
Yeah.
I think the ESP, the early ESPs that Hetfield were playing, that were exactly the Explorer,
right,
with the headstock, and they had the snake, the Black Album era ESPs. I think are some of the greatest guitar. I almost bought one at Guitar Center, and I still bummed that I don't have that now. I remember Fernie from Jet Boy got one, and it was the Hetfield one with the snake on the fucking fretboard. No, those early ESPs, it's like early Dean guitars.
Yeah, those were amazing. Remember those old ads and Guitar Player?
Yeah,
always maybe a hot chick.
Yeah, always, yeah.
But the guitars were really good. They were good quality.
Next level. When you pick one up now, you go, boy, these were built incredible. And then Washburn, too. Those early Washburn kind of weird-shaped Explorers.
Yeah.
All that shit. That was some fine guitar making.
Yeah, they never, I saw that happen with so many guitars. They never made them like they used to.
Nope. I can't thank you enough for doing the show.
Oh man, it's great to.
It's so great that you reached out. I was like, I love.
I saw you interviewed my dude Gene.
Yeah, and I love when it happens like that, like out of nowhere. Like, oh my God, I got a great deep roots guest.
Yeah, and I'm it's great to see all you've been doing, and like.
Are you into comedy?
I'm into comedy, and I listened to Marin.
Oh yeah,
and I had no idea. Like, you've come up on Marin a couple times. And I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah. You got to come see some comedy.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to.
I have to, I'm on every night here in the city.
Is that right?
Comedy Cellar. Anytime you want to come, we'll hang and we'll eat dinner there and you can watch some comedy.
Oh, that'd be great.
I was there last night. We walked home at 3 a.m. And it's funny when it's 30 degrees a couple days ago, and then last night it was 43. I was like, it's nice out, hoodie weather. I just wore a hoodie.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, totally. I know, it's so I haven't been there. I've been meaning to go back.
Well, you and I...
I mean, I have been. I was there like in the O's.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because the comics that were there, like nobody was known. It wasn't some big walk-on. But... at least two of them, like years later, I'm like, wait, that's that comic that was there that night.
Like Dave Attell or someone?
One of them was Lisa Lampanelli.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Huge arena, became a massive star.
But I'll never forget that routine.
Right. Well,
she did this whole routine about, her, this is what she does.
Yep.
And her language, and I thought, this is insane, but
it's
it
radical
worked
for the time, right?
Yeah, and then when she came out, like I thought I recognized her face wise, and then she did her thing. I'm like, okay, that's who that was. And then I forget who the others were, but yeah, like you see, like people you see they're going places.
Yep. Yeah.
Whether you. No, and I've been meaning to go again.
I got to get you down there, and we'll do it.
I almost went the other night. I had an event in the village. I was filming for a music education thing, and it was in the village. And I walked by, and I knew, but it was packed. And I think it
sold out every show.
I think it was the night Michelle Wolf was there.
Oh, yeah. She's there every night. I perform with her there every night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last night we performed together.
Oh,
so,
that's awesome.
we gotta get you in there.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's awesome.
I'll brace myself. Without fail.
Yeah.
I always get singled out. And it's fine.
Yeah. Well, you gotta look. You gotta look. Long hair. You got a gray patch. People are gonna be like, look at this guy.
Yeah, one of the last times I remember going, it was the same thing. Yeah, look at this guy, with this hair. I'll bet he plays guitar.
Yeah. What are you, some old tumbleweed from Quiet Riot? You blow in here, that kind of shit,
Yeah, even always, even at the Colbert show, not the new one, but I went to the the Colbert Report. And yeah, a buddy of mine does sound for still does, and my buddy Jay, and sure enough, yeah, the warm-up comedian.
Yeah.
What's the story with this guy? So,
Yep.
But I'll be ready.
Okay, and then what do we got coming up? Testament going on tour, or your trio? What's happening? The record just came out in September, the new trio record.
Yeah, we've been all
fantastic.
over. We've been doing. It's great too because we're playing these like nice, elegant places.
Oh, that's great.
And sometimes, there's a lot of jazz fans that come, but there's always people that know me from Testament.
That's great.
And it's the first time they've gone to a show. You sit. They like it.
Oh yeah,
they've told me,
got
wow,
a place to sit.
I can bring my wife.
Yeah, I don't need earplugs.
Yeah, there's no mosh pit.
Yeah. There's like I can hear everything.
Yeah. But yeah, we played the Iridium. We played Yoshi's earlier this year.
Yoshi's.
That's where I used to always go hear great music. We have some shows coming up in January. We're playing City Winery in Boston. I know we're playing Sellersville. I think we're playing DC.
Awesome.
Really nice venue, Blues Alley. And we're doing a European tour.
Wow.
In March. Yeah, it's fun. And we've been going to Europe, every year or every 2 years. And then, Testament will start up again on the next album cycle. So we're off for the year except for a couple shows on the West. We're doing the Decibels Metal and Beer Fest in LA. December 1st, I think.
Oh wow, that's going to be cool.
Yeah. And then there's a Bay Area show, and I'm doing master classes. I was just in Canada for ESP with Javier from Animals as Leaders. We did a joint class, a totally different type of player.
That's great.
Yeah.
Masterclass so people can pay and they come learn from you guys for a day.
Actually at these music stores, they just do it as promo.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a free class. I'm doing that. I'm actually going overseas and doing some of those in December. And writing for the next Testament record. If I look a little tired, it's because I was working on a demo for Testament. I was up really late. One of the hardest riffs to write, I think, ever for me.
Are you part of the writing on that, or how does it split between you and Eric? How does that work?
It's not. Yeah, I'm all the original stuff. It's either co-written or I'd write some ideas. When I came back, Eric had been doing most of the writing. He sort of took the reins while I was gone.
Of course.
Which is totally understandable. But the last record was a little more him, but the records before that, you can kind of tell we write very different.
Oh.
So if you hear a song, there's a song like I'll throw out some song names like Throne of Thorns. That's one I brought in. That was my idea. Dangers of the Faithless from Formation.
You can just tell by the style of the riff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think this next one's going to be pretty collaborative. We've been sending things back and forth. We're meeting in a few weeks. I've gotten much better at the recording at home and really present. I think this helps too. Just being able to present the riff well. It's not just me playing a guitar that's not plugged in.
Oh,
listen,
yeah.
It's going to sound great. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that's the word, right? Yeah, it's so like garage. It goes like this.
Yeah.
You're like, what? But if it's a killer, you put it in GarageBand, start playing, and you go, oh, there's the riff right there.
So I'm using Amplitude, and this amazing program called Superior Drummer, which I'd never used before, and it's amazing. And it's just all existing drum patterns, but tons of them.
Oh.
And you can put them together, you can adjust them, you tweak them, and it's just
inspiring for riff writing.
Yeah, it creates these ideas. So I did a demo last. I've donated days to this this one tune. But it's really cool. Maybe I'll play a clip of it after we're done.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to steal it.
Yeah.
And then some of the riffs that I didn't get on the Testament record, they end up on the Metal Allegiance records, which I actually didn't talk about. That's a whole other project. That's signed to Nuclear Blast. It's
2 singers, right? Metal Allegiance, you got 2 singers?
Well, actually, it's a different singer on every song.
Different singer on every song, yeah.
Yeah, live, it could be 2 singers. It could be 1. It could be a half a dozen.
Yeah, yeah.
That started as this all-star cover jam. The singers originally, it was Joey Belladonna.
Oh, wow.
It was,
was Chuck in there?
Yeah, Chuck did a couple, Mark Osegueda. And then drums, Mike Portnoy, David Ellefson on bass. The guy who started it, his name's Mark Mangy, and he was a product guy for a long time, but also a good bass player. And they did the show on the Motorhead cruise.
Right, that's what I remember watching it on. I watched them footage on YouTube. That's where I remember it.
Yeah, they did the first show, and it used to be called Metal Masters, and they would do it was like a clinic with multiple people.
You do like Priest, some covers and stuff like that.
But then they changed it to Metal Allegiance. I sat in with them on this cruise, and we kind of hit it off. And then they pulled me aside and told me, they're kind of plotting to make it an original project, and basically pad it with guests, but like have a core writing team. And so the writing team is the founder Mark Mangy, myself, Mike Portnoy, and David Ellefson.
That's an awesome lineup.
And Nuclear Blast Records came on board, and the first record has just a who's who of people: Randy from Lamb of God, Troy Sanders from Mastodon, Christina from Lacuna Coil, like all different types of metal.
That's great.
And then our second album actually came out in September. September was a huge month because my album came out and the Metal Allegiance record.
Oh, wow. I haven't even heard that yet. I got to listen to that.
I'm pissed I didn't bring one.
That's all good.
When I come to the Comedy Cellar,
I'll just listen to it though here, stream it. Because
how do you listen to it? CDs or?
No, I don't got a CD player.
Okay.
So it's straight streaming right here, and this is New York style. In LA, I got 3,000 records.
Yeah.
And here it's like there it is, my Clips Bluetooth speaker. It sounds amazing. I got one there. These
things are so good, man.
It's crazy, right? How good. After a while, you're like, this is the freedom of it is amazing.
Have you heard Sonos yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just heard a podcast with Rick Rubin.
Yeah,
being interviewed by Malcolm Gladwell, and he says he plays all his music on the Sonos.
That's wild. Him?
Crazy. Him.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'm sold. I don't know which model I'm getting, but
yeah. Well, there's this one speaker that's like $3,000, and I forget the brand, and I'll show it to you. But it looks like a white egg, and it weighs like 60 pounds. And when you hear these Bluetooth speakers, it's like, what? They're $3,000 a piece. So you got one's cool, but when you have two, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
They got a shop down in Soho, and it is I'll show them to you. It is incredible what they sound like.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm so glad you want to go to some food, or you got to go home?
Yeah,
all right. What a great day it is to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man.
I love life. I
still remember nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol.
Wow. You know what I remember, and I talked about it on the when I had Chuck on, was when Chuck wore one of our band shirts on one of the videos, and my band shirt sold like crazy. I also remember opening for Testament which was a very cool era when rock and metal were starting to come together.
Yeah.
Chuck had us open Ghost Town at the Omni.
Oh.
And I believe you guys were shooting a video that night.
That's right.
I can't remember. But yeah, we opened for Testament and Chuck and all you guys in the band have just it's so great, and the history in there of the Bay Area. I just love that we grew up there.
Yeah, so cool.
It really, really was the nucleus and ground zero of all that, you know.
Yeah, and I think I remember, if I remember right, Linda Perry.
That's right.
Sat in.
Yeah.
At one of those shows, and boy, she like a short time later. She was like the songwriting queen.
The queen, yeah. She's.
This was before that. She was.
Yeah, she sat in. It was my birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, and she wore. I got photos from that. I showed her some photos recently, and she was laughing. But
how's she doing?
She's doing great. Yeah, she. She's always writing. Had all these songs, huge hits, and then she found all these great artists that sold millions and millions and. She's doing great. She's got an incredible studio. She's married. She's got a kid now.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, and her wife is the girl on Roseanne, who also does The Voice or whatever that. What's that daytime women's show?
The Talk.
The Talk. One of those. You know.
Oh, with Sharon Osbourne.
Yeah. All right,
it's all connected.
It is. It's Illuminati. Well, thank you so much. You got an
bro.
Instagram or anything?
I do.
What is it?
At Alex Skolnick. I registered my name.
Awesome.
Before this whole thing of fans taking your name.
Oh,
None of the other guys in my band have their name. They're all like underscore this or
the
dash.
real Chuck Billy. Yeah.
He is Chuck fucking Billy.
Oh. I love that man.
Yeah. Everything's Alex Skolnick. I was lucky. I think I had a PR person at the time.
Yeah.
There's this new thing out called Twitter. You should register. I'm like, why would I do? Okay. I'm so glad I did.
I know, right? Because it really is a nucleus of where people find you.
Yes.
It's a free digital global flyer.
Yeah, and I don't know what like numbers of followers even means anymore.
Yeah, whatever. But
I got like 70-something thousand followers.
That's amazing.
Like, how do you do? I'm like, it's just being there from the get go with my name.
Yep. Yeah, and you're a guitar god, dude.
Oh,
I mean, that's all there is to it. When you look at it,
I also write. And I do other things. And I guess hopefully I retweet interesting things. And, but I'm selective about what I post.
Yeah.
I know some people I think just overshare.
Yeah.
Including some well-known people.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, I don't need to see this and this and this. You know what I mean? Like,
give me some mystique.
Yeah, or just if you have something interesting to share, or it's there's something to say.
Yeah.
Say that, but hey, I'm walking out the door now. And here I am at the dentist. I actually saw somebody post that. I'm not going to say who, but you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So people say my feed is interesting, so hopefully it is.
I'm gonna start following it today. Yeah, you got an Instagram?
At Alex Skolnick on Instagram.
Awesome.
At Alex Skolnick on Twitter. AlexSkolnick.
There it is. Thank you so much for doing the show. And I'm looking forward to seeing Testament over the summer. It's been a long time since I've seen the band. I think I saw you guys like 5-6 years ago. I can't remember now, but I'm ready to see it again.
Yeah.
And Chuck came to see some comedy. Him and his wife came. I spent the night out at his house, and it was just
I think that was when I first heard you were doing comedy. I'm like, really?
Yeah. What a
cool. I mean, it makes sense because I remember you always had that side for your raps with the crowd.
Yeah.
There's hints of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
Yeah, I'll get you to one of my instrumental shows.
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
I'm all over that. You ever play Rockwood, or are you bigger than that?
I've played there a couple times.
I'm
usually it's Iridium. That's where I play.
I love this Conundrum record.
Thank you so much.
It's really good. I listened to it twice today, and I was like, wow, this is great.
It's getting great coverage too.
All right.
I'll show you one thing here.
What do you got there?
This just came out. I mean, it's a It's a jazz education magazine, but it's a big jazz education. So
is that the ESP?
that's the ESP, yeah.
Wow, it looks great.
Yeah, that's one of them. There's
Yeah.
actually 4 with Testament, I play a different colored one. But
Floyd Rose.
yeah, this one has a Floyd Rose. Most of them don't.
And what's the pickups?
They are signature pickups. The Alex Skolnick pickup by Seymour Duncan.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the other one, the bridge pickup is that one. The neck pickup is a 59.
Hey, you look great. 50 years old, out playing
Thank
music. You've won.
Yeah,
You've won,
I
Alex.
feel like I've won.
You actually have won. This is cool. Jazzed is the magazine, and you can get it jazzmagazine.com. And there he is on the cover. Jazzed.
Or
yeah.
Jazz Ed, I think is.
Jazz Ed, like education or dude, I've been jazzed.
Yeah.
Hey, Daddy, I've been jazzed.
Yeah, I've been jazzed.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Don't
Thank everybody.
forget to subscribe and rate this podcast and give it some love. I love all you guys. Candles are lit.